Education has directed its vision toward one clear goal: to help every student graduate college and career-ready in a world-class school district built on the tenets of student achievement, community engagement, customer service, innovation, and fiscal accountability. With these guiding principles, CSD, as one of the largest school districts in Utah, has kept close to the desires of its original founders, the patrons of Canyon School District, in creating learning environments with cutting-edge technological capabilities, instructional scaffolding that supports teaching. Every child learns differently, and school should be a place where every child is challenged to reach their potential, including advanced learners. At Canyon's District's Salta Gifted Magnet Schools, teachers are specifically trained to work with students who yearn to explore greater depth or at a faster pace. Applications to test into Salta open in September for students in kindergarten through 7th grade, because some students are ready to learn more.
Utah's Dual Language Immersion is a general education program designed to help students become biliterate and culturally competent in a global.
We all do better when everyone belongs. Learning starts with belonging. When students feel seen, valued, and part of the team, they gain the confidence to achieve. In Canyon School District, we're building schools where everyone is welcomed, supported, and encouraged to succeed. Connect more and belong more.
Ranked best in Salt Lake City, 5 years running, college credit classes that pay for themselves, championship competitors, and a brand new innovation center built for what's next. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district. child learns differently, and school should be a place where every child is challenged to reach their potential, including advanced learners. At Canyons District's Salta Gifted Magnet Schools, teachers are specifically trained to work with students who yearn to explore greater depth or at a faster pace. Applications to test into Salta open in September for students in kindergarten through 7th grade, because some students are ready to learn more.
Arts are where students find their voice. State champion theater, award-winning dancers and musicians. From a kindergarten stage to the center spotlight, this is where talent grows. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district.
"250 years ago, America began with a radical idea that ordinary people could govern themselves. But an idea like that isn't inherited. It has to be taught, again and again, to every child, in every generation. That's the work of our schools, open to every child, no exceptions. Teaching not just reading and math, but how to think, how to question, how to stand up and be heard. For 250 years, that's how the promise has survived. One classroom, one student, one question at a time. In Canyon School District, that work continues today with the students who will lead America into the next 250 years. This is where the promise keeps going. This is Canyons.
Utah's Dual Language Immersion is a general education program designed to help students become biliterate and culturally competent in a global community. In our 50-50 model design, students spend half their school day in the immersion language and the other half in English. The Utah State Board of Education has helped successfully implement these programs for over a decade. As the first state in the U.S. with a state-based language immersion program, our students have reaped the benefits of improved memory, academic performance, cultural awareness, native language skills, and increased global perspective. With tens of thousands of students enrolled in Spanish, German, Portuguese, Russian, Chinese, or French language immersion, they graduate high school proficient in 2 or more languages and find themselves at a higher advantage for colleges, universities, trade careers, and multinational opportunities.
Every child learns differently, and school should be a place where every child is challenged to reach their potential, including advanced learners. At Canyons District's Salta Gifted Magnet Schools, teachers are specifically trained to work with students who yearn to explore greater depth or at a faster pace. Applications to test into SALTA open in September for students in kindergarten through 7th grade, because some students are ready to learn more.
"250 years ago, America began with a radical idea that ordinary people could govern themselves. But an idea like that isn't inherited. It has to be taught, again and again, to every child, in every generation. That's the work of our schools, open to every child, no exceptions, teaching not just reading and math, but how to think, how to question, how to stand up and be heard. For 250 years, that's how the promise has survived. One classroom, one student, one question at a time. In Canyon School District, that work continues today with the students who will lead America into the next 250 years. This is where the promise keeps going. This is Canyons.
Champion Theater, award-winning dancers and musicians. From a kindergarten stage to the center spotlight, this is where talent grows. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district.
Every child learns differently, and school should be a place where every child is challenged to reach their potential, including advanced learners. At Canyons District Salta Gifted Magnet Schools, teachers are specifically trained to work with students who yearn to explore greater depth or at a faster pace. Applications to test into Salta open in September for students in kindergarten through 7th grade, because some students are ready to learn more. Ranked best in Salt Lake City, 5 years running, college credit classes that pay for themselves, championship competitors, and a brand new innovation center built for what's next. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district. ranked best in Salt Lake City, 5 years running, college credit classes that pay for themselves, championship competitors, and a brand new innovation center built for what's next. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district.
We all do better when everyone belongs. Learning starts with belonging. When students feel seen, valued, and part of the team, they gain the confidence to achieve. In Canyon School District, we're building schools where everyone is welcomed, supported, and encouraged to succeed. Connect more and belong more.
Canyon's Board of Education has directed its vision toward one clear goal: to help every student graduate college and career ready in a world-class school district built on the tenets of student achievement, community engagement, customer service, innovation, and fiscal accountability. With these guiding principles, CSD, as one of the largest school districts in Utah, has kept close to the desires of its original founders, the patrons of Canyon School District, in creating learning environments with cutting-edge technological capabilities, instructional scaffolding that supports teachers and administrators, and developing innovative programs that lead students to educational and personal success. Board meetings is where these decisions get made to guarantee that. Ranked best in Salt Lake City, 5 years running, college credit classes that pay for themselves, championship competitors, and a brand new innovation center built for what's next. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district.
state champion theater, award-winning dancers and musicians. From a kindergarten stage to the center spotlight, this is where talent grows. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district.
The Canyons Board of Education has directed its vision toward one clear goal: to help every student graduate college and career ready in a world-class school district built on the tenets of student achievement, community engagement, customer service, innovation, and fiscal accountability. With these guiding principles, CSD, as one of the largest school districts in Utah, has kept close to the desires of its original founders, the patrons of Canyon School District, in creating learning environments with cutting-edge technological capabilities, instructional scaffolding that supports teachers and administrators, and developing innovative programs that lead students to educational and personal success. Board meetings is where these decisions get made to guarantee that.
"250 years ago, America began with a radical idea that ordinary people could govern themselves. But an idea like that isn't inherited. It has to be taught, again and again, to every child, in every generation. That's the work of our schools, open to every child, no exceptions, teaching not just reading and math, but how to think, how to question, how to stand up and be heard. For 250 years, that's how the promise has survived. One classroom, one student, one question at a time. In Canyon School District, that work continues today with the students who will lead America into the next 250 years. This is where the promise keeps going. This is Canyons.
Utah's Dual Language Immersion is a general education program designed to help students become biliterate and culturally competent in a global community. In our 50-50 model design, students spend half their school day in the immersion language and the other half in English. The Utah State Board of Education has helped successfully implement these programs for over a decade. As the first state in the U.S. with a state-based language immersion program, our students have reaped the benefits of improved memory, academic performance, cultural awareness, native language skills, and increased global perspective. With tens of thousands of students enrolled in Spanish, German, Portuguese, Russian, Chinese, or French language immersion, they graduate high school proficient in 2 or more languages and find themselves at a higher advantage for colleges, universities, trade careers, and multinational opportunities.
As a dual immersion educator, watching students succeed with language learning, I have seen all kinds of kids blossom and grow in the program. Kids who were shy, able to gain some confidence by having another skill like a second language.
I think the main benefit is the fact that it allows for anyone who understands language learning knows that it's a long process. It's like a marathon. You can't learn languages in a couple of years. If you really want to become bilingual and bicultural, it's a lifelong investment. Having the opportunity to work with DLI and post-secondary to create this seamless path has been incredible, because that is the only way to really meet the needs of the state of Utah, but also the needs of the nation as a whole.
One of the most exciting things about the continuation after DLI into the Bridge program is students from all grade levels and from all backgrounds linguistically and socioeconomically have access. That we can bring this program into high schools and allow students to experience what it's like to be in college, but with a highly supportive environment.
I love watching the students at my school gain an appreciation for cultures around the world, for them to be able to understand that it's a really big world and that there's so many amazing people, countries, cultures. And I see the students celebrate the differences that we have, and I think it's really beautiful to see that. And then to see that along the way they're gaining a high level of proficiency in the language, where not only do they get that cultural competency, but they also can speak with native speakers and do their best and become literate in both languages.
I have learned that, the importance of learning a language and how students can broaden their perspectives and that they can go further than they ever imagined by learning a second language. I also learned that being fully immersed is the most effective way to teach a language.
Since we ran a little over there. Okay. Welcome to the meeting of the Canyons Board of Education. Today is September 1st, 2026, and we're meeting at the district office located at 9361 South 300 East in Sandy, Utah. The first item on the agenda, I'm actually going to switch these items around so PTA can go first. And then we'll have our second. So first is going to be the update on the 2026-2027 volunteer report. Are you missing someone's?
We're missing the paperwork for it.
Should we not put you first?
You go ahead. I'll bring it back to you. You'll see the report here in a few minutes.
Okay. Okay. So I should start with the annual open meetings training? Is that what you're saying? No, you're good to go. Okay. Okay, I'm going to turn the time over to Susan Edwards, Public Engagement Coordinator.
Okay, thank you. You're going to get handed in a few minutes the volunteer report. My apologies. And what it will show are a few things. It will show our volunteer numbers. We've known as our student population drops after COVID, we've never quite rebounded. But they're good. We have a robust amount of people volunteering in our schools. A couple of the changes to the system that you will see is that we 2 years ago, I think it was last year, we stopped having the PTA record separate from other volunteers. So right now we just see you're a volunteer or you're a visitor. The PTA has their own way of tracking volunteer hours, and they turn their reports in, and then they turn those reports to us, so they give us the hours through their system, which I think is much more accurate of their hours than us trying to figure out, did everybody record it right? Were some visitors, were some other, did people get it recorded right? The other piece of the volunteer system is that it is a major component of our school security system. People coming in sign in as a visitor or volunteer. You've had several updates on that this year on things we're doing with that. We will be looking this year at updating that system. We programmed that in-house in Canyons, and there are some, the equipment used between the computers and the badge printers is starting to be dated. So we're either going to have to redo that internally, or now there are quite a few systems, robust systems, where we may be able to, you brought everything. And not, I don't think what, I will bring this right back to you. So we will likely have to either buy a new system that's more updated, or we'll have to reprogram what we have before next school year. So we're in the process of looking at that right now. The other thing is that I will tell you, and when you see the report year over year, you've heard me say this before, it shows, you look at it not just from, oh, look how many volunteers we have, but look at it from where we have gaps, who's not signing in, where the system's not being used. Again, that goes back to it being a safety and security system, is that we know who is in our schools. We know that the volunteers have been vetted and approved, right? And the visitors, then we have different protocols for. So that's kind of what you're trying to read out of the report. And then I would like to, our most heavy group of volunteers, not heavy in weight-wise,
sure.
Heavy in support-wise, is our region PTA. They're phenomenal. They, as you know, give us hours and hours of their personal time and support, and they just set the dynamic for our schools. So tonight on volunteer night, and while Ashley's introducing her group, I'll go get these, but this is Ashley Bachman, and I want you to speak just a minute to the change last year from region to region chair, and kind of how that works, and then introduce your people.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Ashley Bachman. Okay. So state PTA used to be one way. They restructured a year ago, as in trying to get the correct information down correctly. So they were filling gaps as well. And so region director used to be the role and had a lot more responsibility, training, and stuff like that. And so now region chair, support committee chair, I get from state, and then I support my council presidents, which is Betty Shaw. She's the North Elementary Council. Jessica Davies is our Central Elementary Council. And then Kate Robbins is our South, soon to be voted in next week, council. And then I have Laura Lynn, who is my secondary, but she's over all of middle and high schools. So my support is to bring from state and then have them be the main support for those schools. So they are given a training to do at our council meetings now that's more specific, and I believe has been more helpful and more make the meetings more meaningful to make sure we are getting those volunteers the correct information from state and from district, right? Because we've got to abide by both entities when serving in our districts. So Betty and Jessica and Kate, if you guys want to come up here, we want to present this check to you guys for the 72,921 volunteer hours that PTA did last year, and it's probably lower than it should be. We got to get those people to record their hours. But we are just saving you so much money and help with all our stuff. Fiscally manageable, you are doing that. But no, and I can attest, maybe not for everybody, but we love doing this, and that is why we give our time, and our heart, and our soul. Yeah. But I think all volunteers in the school are that way, and I think my goal moving into middle and high school is to let people know they can still volunteer and what they can do. Our middle schools, at my middle school, we find our ACC classes or our, they're now the MLL, the multi-language learners, and we have parents go in there and sit with those kids and help them through it just like you would at your elementary, because they need that support as well. So that's where I'm pushing as a union mom, but also PTA, to go and find those middle and high schools. High school's a little different, but there's still opportunities to get and to show and to broaden and ask people to help as well. So this extends past the same amount who do it every year kind of thing, and to build that. And we know volunteer has gone down after COVID, but we're gonna build it back up, and we're gonna be positive and make people do it. No. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you to your region folks. They are truly amazing, and they have changed their structure a little bit. We now have the opportunity to meet with them monthly, and I can honestly attest, when they were switching their system, I was skeptical, and it has been really great. It has provided, state PTA has provided really great training for them, as well as giving us a chance to touch base monthly with our councils, and so we appreciate that. As you look at the report now, you'll see the PTA hours in the first column. Those are all reported by PTA to PTA. That is a required report they have that they didn't give to us. The others for elementary and middle are recorded off of the computer system, and so those are the people who did sign in. Other hours, total hours, you see distinct volunteers. Those are the numbers that did volunteer in various schools. I will sometimes, when they drop low, call and make a request and say, is this accurate? You know, but and sometimes I get varying answers, but the visitor hours, you'll see visitors. I think in some cases you will be able to notice that people are signing in probably as visitors, not as volunteers. So you kind of have to decipher a little bit there, and then the distinct. When you look at the secondary side high schools, report the head administrative assistants, they ask all coaches, advisors, people who use volunteers to keep track of the hours and report at the end of the year to them before they do their checkout at the end of the year. Jordan District did have a glitch this year, and that did not happen, so it's not that they had zero hours, they just did not get that report in this year. But you'll see the others, and so you'll be able to see kind of how our schools are doing overall. Any questions for me?
Questions, Mr. Edo?
So it's actually for Ashley. So I understand that Susan's great, and I got to work with Susan when I did like council stuff and stuff like that. But I also know that Susan doesn't like control everything. Crazy. So what else do you need from us? Like, how can we help?
Write me checks for memberships. No, just kidding. If you want to join our PTAs, either your kids' schools or all the PTAs in Canyon School District, there's no pressure. We know it might not be possible, and that's great. That's okay. So there are 4 different checks we have to write, because now as region, I don't have a bank account to split it up, so we'll write it to each of those 4s, and Susan has those numbers.
And you've been sent that in an email.
And
You sent an email.
we need to make sure we do, Betty reminded us, because she knows a lot of things. It needs to say Canyons Elementary Canyons Central Elementary Council. Just make sure you put Canyons in there, because that is our bank account name. I don't think it's caused too many issues, but just to make sure, we'll put that in there. But as far as what you guys can help with, I don't know, I think I just go to Susan, I'm like, how do we get this done? Or I text somebody, yeah.
I was actually approached by one of our PTSA presidents saying, please, is there anything you can do to raise greater awareness for parents, that they know how much we really do need more membership, we need more people to sign up and these kind of things. Is there anything like, from a social media perspective, as board members, certainly we can post and put something in there, and I'd love to see, something in the wrap up for tonight's meeting, encouraging parents, like anything that we can push out, because it used to be so easy when we had the access to do that during registration, and now we don't anymore.
Well, and Kirsten, sorry, she's been really helpful, and she'll put it at the end of registration. It was a tinier text, and so it did say, if you want to volunteer, sign up, right? If you want to join your PTA, sign up here. And I was able to create a website that brings all our schools on there. Okay. So you can just click on what school you want to do. You still have to check out individually, because there's no main bank account to split it all up. But you're like, if there's not all the schools you want to join, but like 10, like we can figure that out, and you can write a check if you want to, because there is those fees online. But I think, and Susan knows this too, and at the state level, we are trying to push membership. It is extremely down. And people ask, what does membership give me? What does my $6 give you? And it's like, well, let's just exist. And with our memberships, we get more money from the state to do activities. And having the PTA gives us state and national programs to do, right? For free, like our Red Ribbon Week, our Battle of the Bands, and reflections and stuff like that. And so that allows us to get trained to really help, because we are a nonprofit and we need to be trained, but have those opportunities for your kids. And then just shows us that you support our mission. And so that's what I tell parents usually. But I think we could absolutely do a push with that, or in board meetings, acknowledge we're the parent group, right?
Well, did you find that there was any increase with having the link at the end of registration this year? Did you?
I haven't looked, because dues, when a school gets memberships, they pay dues on the 25th of the month. So they just paid last month, so I just got the report for August. So I'm gonna look at where we were last year compared to this year. But we also at Back to School Night really had schools push it too.
Oh, that's good.
And so I think our district does pretty good. Like, you guys do that for us, other districts don't. You guys send out those mailers, which is phenomenal. And I did, because I get a lot of notifications on registration day, like coming in for different schools. I'm like, oh, they got it on the registration and that, so.
Go ahead, Kirsten. We did mail a postcard to all families as well. We have a really cute video. Remember you mentioned the CSD TV ads you'd like to see during live streams? We have a really cute animated one that one of our student broadcasters created for volunteering specifically, but it also mentions the PTA. So
that's awesome. Well, I was just thinking that it might be really helpful if you have the link for that website. Like, I'd be happy to post it and be like, hey, if you haven't signed up for your PTA, here's an easy way to do it. I think especially the younger generation, they're so focused not necessarily on mailers, but definitely on hyperlinks, right? And something that opens up easily. It's all about convenience.
Yes, yeah.
So,
and we can maybe put stuff in the minutes of board meetings or different things, that talks about the parent group and volunteer.
I think it's important too to help families know that both parents can join the PTA, grandparents can join the PTA, and so
we actually,
it's not just the students can and the secondary, and so understanding that too.
So Kate, I want you to tell your thing that you just created today.
Oh, okay. Well, I will. I was just going to say, from being sitting at the table on Back to School Night, trying to get people to sign up, the disconnect that I see is people being scared to become PTA members because they don't have time to volunteer, or they don't want to show up at the meetings. And so we try to tell them, like, you're still supporting us by just being a member, but I still see it as a big disconnect, like those two messages are.
I'll just quickly switch. Grandparents' Day is coming up, so we're gonna do a push and say, hey, for Grandparents' Day, buy your grandparent a membership to support our schools, I think, yeah.
As a way to like help your they can receive the updates of what's going on at their grandkids' school, and then they can use those as talking points, be like, hey, I heard that your school was, had a reflections deadline, or, whatever,
And one additional thing I would, and this isn't a negative at all, but just something to remember and something that we train our principals to remember, is that the PTA does have a mission and they do have things that they're supposed to do, and then afterwards can do additional things. And just sometimes we get in conversation, we're like, well, can't the PTA cover that? Their budgets have shrunk just like our budgets have shrunk substantially. So just to keep that in mind as we're planning things, that there are certain things they can and certain things they can't, and we just need to be mindful of this.
Mrs. Pedersen had a question.
This is probably more a personal question. I volunteer a lot in the classrooms, but I never put in my volunteer hours. Do I need to sign in?
You are supposed to every time.
You do. Well, I don't. I just go into the
Shame on
classrooms and
you.
I know. That's why I said well, they're just not counting my hours. That's the point.
That's the point, and when you're there as a board member and you're coming to visit as a board member, it's fine to just say, it's me. But when you are coming in as a volunteer, we
Because I
appreciate
do
you signing.
volunteer quite a bit. I've already volunteered twice.
And you can always go
So far.
back on your phone, and you can add hours, bulk hours in afterwards when you sign in as a volunteer.
Because I wasn't aware
I think that's a very great point, though.
that just when I'm actually helping in the classroom, that I need to make sure that I'm counting my hours.
Check it in the computer, because that counts it.
Okay, Mrs. Oaks?
So real quick on the volunteer clearance and checking in and everything, kudos to you guys. I mean, one of my adult kids was asked by a former Chinese teacher to come back and talk to her students, and he was convinced he could just waltz into the school. And I was like, there's a runway on this. Like, you have to plan this out in advance. And sure enough, he had to come back the next week because he hadn't been cleared yet for his volunteer status. And so he went today, and he came back. He was like, that was slick. It wasn't bad. I was like, right. But I appreciated that no matter who it is, they have to get clearance. And anyway, it's much appreciated. It's a very secure system.
Okay, thank you, Susan, and thank you, PTA, for all you guys do.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so given the time, I know Dan can be fast, but I think we're going to push that to the next board meeting. Because we already have a full business meeting, so if that's okay.
He's just crushed. He can't tell us
I know you're excited, but.
And my joke's not gonna work on the 15th.
Well, you have to think of a new joke. Okay, board, this meeting will be over now, and then we will start business meeting at 7.
Joke just won't work on the 15th.
Thank you.
Utah's Dual Language Immersion is a general education program designed to help students become biliterate and culturally competent in a global community. In our 50-50 model design, students spend half their school day in the immersion language and the other half in English. The Utah State Board of Education has helped successfully implement these programs for over a decade. As the first state in the U.S. with a state-based language immersion program, our students have reaped the benefits of improved memory, academic performance, cultural awareness, native language skills, and increased global perspective. With tens of thousands of students enrolled in Spanish, German, Portuguese, Russian, Chinese, or French language immersion, they graduate high school proficient in 2 or more languages and find themselves at a higher advantage for colleges, universities, trade careers, and multinational opportunities.
As a dual immersion educator, watching students succeed with language learning, I have seen all kinds of kids blossom and grow in the program. Kids who were shy, able to gain some confidence by having another skill like a second language.
I think the main benefit is the fact that it allows for anyone who understands language learning knows that it's a long process. It's like a marathon. You can't learn languages in a couple of years. If you really want to become bilingual and bicultural, it's a lifelong investment. Having the opportunity to work with DLI and post-secondary to create this seamless path has been incredible, because that is the only way to really meet the needs of the state of Utah, but also the needs of the nation as a whole.
One of the most exciting things about the continuation after DLI into the Bridge program is students from all grade levels and from all backgrounds linguistically and socioeconomically have access. That we can bring this program into high schools and allow students to experience what it's like to be in college, but with a highly supportive environment.
I love watching the students at my school gain an appreciation for cultures around the world, for them to be able to understand that it's a really big world and that there's so many amazing people, countries, cultures. And I see the students celebrate the differences that we have, and I think it's really beautiful to see that. And then to see that along the way they're gaining a high level of proficiency in the language, where not only do they get that cultural competency, but they also can speak with native speakers and do their best and become literate in both languages.
I have learned that, the importance of learning a language and how students can broaden their perspectives and that they can go further than they ever imagined by learning a second language. I also learned that being fully immersed is the most effective way to teach a language. Our teachers are trained to be so successful in helping our students learn the language by the different methods that they use. And it's very eye-opening to me to see the difference as compared to when I was a student in school.
Increase my understanding of different cultures and how they view the world. I had been accustomed to just understanding my perspective of the world, but learning about a different culture and a different understanding that's not only just actions and traditions of other people.
If you are interested in implementing a dual language immersion program in your school, district, or state, the Utah State Board of Education has developed a process with information and resources to help get you started. Get your students on the right path to success in the global economy with dual language immersion programs today.
Ranked best in Salt Lake City, 5 years running. College credit classes that pay for themselves, championship competitors, and a brand new innovation center built for what's next. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district.
In Canyons, the arts are where students find their voice. State champion theater, award-winning dancers and musicians. From a kindergarten stage to the center spotlight, this is where talent grows. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district.
Ranked best in Salt Lake City, 5 years running. College credit classes that pay for themselves, championship competitors, and a brand new innovation center built for what's next. Canyons, Salt Lake County's #1 school district.
Welcome to the meeting of the Canyons Board of Education. Today is September 1st, 2026. And we're meeting at the district office located at 9361 South 300 East in Sandy, Utah. Thank you. There's a weird echo because of Zoom, I think, in the other room. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is to approve the agenda for tonight. So I will now take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, September 1st, 2026.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll make a second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for September 1st, 2026. Any discussion to that motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. And at this time, I want to let you know that Mr. Lewis is attending the meeting on Zoom. So if he speaks, we should be able to see him. So the next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be by Mid-Valley Elementary Principal Margaret Swaneke.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. President Schill, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you all about Mid-Valley. I love my job, and I am so grateful to work in such a wonderful community. At Mid-Valley, we work hard to ensure every student feels known. Highlights include, we currently have 618 students, and I make it a personal goal to know every one of them by name. Mid-Valley teachers stand outside their classroom doors and greet their students by name. It is powerful to watch students happily enter their classrooms every morning. Our students love bringing notes and/or returning paperwork to the office from their teachers because it gives them an opportunity to see our office team. I recently overheard a student say, "I got to see Miss Tammy this morning." Our office team are rock stars. Mid-Valley has many student recognitions, including Pause Points, Portrait of a Husky, a character education program, Reverse Office Discipline Referrals, which we call Positivity Awards, where our Huskies are sent to the office for academic and behavior accomplishments, and a Husky Success Board, where families join us weekly to hear of their children's accomplishments. This year, we are moving away from prizes to experiences for student rewards, which includes extra recess, karaoke, dance parties, and more. This helps us have additional connections with our Huskies. Mid-Valley benefits from all of the district-supported high-quality learning experiences, which include Read Across America, Book Blitz, Junior Coaches, Science Fair, Spelling Bee, Orchestra, STEM Explorers, STEAM Squad, and more. Our Huskies feel known, connected, engaged, supported, and ready to learn. At Mid-Valley, we work hard to ensure every employee feels valued. Highlights include, twice a year, the administrative team meets individually with teachers and seeks feedback. But asking the questions isn't enough. We make changes based on what they tell us. Administration attends every professional learning community to ensure teachers feel supported. We meet weekly with all of our teams, Recess, Brain Boosters, Community Engagement, Student Support Team, and Resource, to ensure everyone has space to communicate what's working and where we can continue to tighten our systems. We hold end-of-the-year meetings with all of our ESP employees to get their input on what we can do to make Mid-Valley even better. Overwhelmingly, my most popular leadership move was making the change to our parking lot so they could leave at the end of the day without getting stuck in our pickup experience. Our PTA has also helped create a culture of appreciation. Last year, they handmade bracelet birthday gifts for our employees using Mid-Valley colors and Husky designs. At Mid-Valley, we work hard to ensure that Mid-Valley is safe and inviting. Highlights include, we have a very strong parental, guardian, and community involvement. Mid-Valley's PTA is inclusive, supports the school's vision, spoils our teachers, and actively works to make Mid-Valley special for our Huskies. Mid-Valley SCC makes all decisions in support of our students, families, faculty, and staff.
Families come to all of our family events: Moms Matter, Daring Dads, STEM Night, Literacy Night, Math Night, and Art Night. We offer free adult English classes where Canyon stakeholders across the district can build their English skills, confidence, and community connections. You can find more on our website or email me if you're interested in participating. We are very fortunate to be a Canyon school who has a community school facilitator who works with our families to ensure their needs are met and they have access to any and all opportunities in Canyon School District. Our most important stakeholder, the children, continue to show their enthusiasm for our school. One of our kindergartners put it best on the first day of kindergarten when he told his teacher as he was leaving the building at the end of the day, "I don't want to leave school." That one sentence captures exactly what I want for every child who walks through our doors. Our students only get to experience elementary school once, and I want it to be the best experience possible. Mid-Valley is a very special school where we work hard to ensure every student feels known, every employee feels valued, and every person who enters our school feels safe, welcomed, and like they belong. That is success. And as we say at Mid-Valley, junior Husky success, nothing less.
Okay, thank you so much. Like the board, we love hearing about all the wonderful things happening in our schools. And I love what you just said there at the end and the beginning, where every student is known and every employee valued.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate all you do. And please pass on our thanks to your staff.
I will do.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Canyon Strong recognitions, and this will be by Jeff Haney, Director, and Kirsten Stewart, Associate Director of Communications.
Before we start our Canyon Strong recognitions, I wanted to mention the work of our fantastic PTAs across Canyon School District. We talked about this during study session, but it's worth noting just how many hours our PTA volunteers logged last year. 72,000, almost 73,000 hours logged by our amazing PTA volunteers. We would encourage every parent, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, anyone who wants to be a part of Canyon's district schools to join the PTA. That's the recognized parent organization in the Canyon School District. They do so much for us, and we thank them for all that they do and encourage everyone to be involved. And new this year, we have started a Diamond Ridge High School PTSA. So please consider joining the Diamond Ridge Raptors. This is the first year that we'll have a PTSA there, and hopefully we'll have a very robust one that'll support students and teachers and get that rock band into the Battle of the Bands in the spring. So please do consider joining the PTA all across Canyons, because the PTA rocks. Canyon Strong is a time that the board presents to us to talk about the many ways that we have started the school year strong. And last Monday was certainly full of romp and circumstance. Now that's the littlest of our littles, and I'm especially proud of the handsome devil in the red t-shirt. That's my grandson Jupiter. He is a first-year preschooler at Sprucewood Elementary School. He, among hundreds of other preschoolers, started at Canyons' 13 preschools, the ones that are overseen by our early childhood department. These photos go to show that there is power in play. It may look like our preschoolers are just hopping, dancing, singing, coloring, and laughing together, but studies have shown that structured play can hone a child's language skills, math skills, and social skills. Our preschools follow an evidence-based curriculum that lines up with the standards of the kindergarten level, and we welcome all families living in Canyons to join our preschool communities, and students play and learn alongside children with disabilities at our preschools as well. If every child had the experience that Jupiter had at preschool in his first week, then there have been a lot of dinner time conversations about the fun and the learning and the friends that have been made in the past few days in our preschools.
And yes, indeed, that picture is correct. This year's kindergarten class is the class of 2039. As is our tradition, we held activities to emphasize the importance of post-secondary education and training, even from the very first week of our kindergartners' time in elementary school. Now, for 17 years, that message of the focus was, I will be college ready. Those were the days that we held. This year, though, we expanded that readiness emphasis. This year's events were called I Will Be Ready Days and stressed not just college readiness, but also being ready for careers and service in the military or in service in other parts of their lives. You can see here the kindergartners at Sunrise and at Mid-Valley at their I Will Be Ready days. You'll see there HR Assistant Director Everett Perry, who is a Navy veteran, taught the kids how to salute. And it was fun because at that assembly, they also did some of their very first recitations of the Pledge of Allegiance, which they will do every day when they are Canyons District students. Now, also, Mid-Valley Principal Margaret Swaneke, who we just heard, and her teachers, they wore university colors and sweatshirts and talked about going to college to become teachers. Kids were encouraged to dress up in the career they want to pursue. And they also heard from our friend Chris Millerberg, who talked about Mont Millerberg's career, his time in college, and his service in the military, and his service to the community. Now, Mont was one of the inaugural members of the Canyons Board of Education, and it was fun to see Chris again and hear the message that she gave to our kindergartners at Mid-Valley of how to be prepared for college, career, and military service. Next up, a Utah Supreme Court justice came to Canyons last week. Associate Justice Jill Pullman, who also is an Alta High School graduate, led the ceremony to swear in the teenagers at Canyons District High Schools who have chosen to serve on our groundbreaking and nationally known Peer Court. Peer Court is a restorative justice diversion program. It handles low-level, nonviolent student policy violations. This is an alternative to suspension, police involvement, and the juvenile justice system. The students apply to be on Peer Court, and each week they hear these cases. This is a volunteer position, and Ms. Cherise Hilton, who oversees our Peer Court, says they give hundreds of hours of service every year. And about 25 students are selected, and you can see that we also have a familiar face on the bench at Peer Court this year. Congratulations to Leon's son, Sam. They were sworn in to be a judge in Peer Court. Leon, is he going to sit in your seat, do you think? Maybe he will during Peer Court. Depends on how he behaves. Yeah. It was a fantastic night seeing our students sworn in to serve on our Peer Court. The next thing we experienced was the welcome back to the students who attend Entrada Adult High School. Entrada has about 200 graduates every single year. They dream of graduation day just like the kindergartners do that we saw just a few moments ago. And last week, we officially welcomed back those students, and just like at every other school, we rolled out the red carpet for them. We also invited the Diamond Ridge Drumline to play some music as those students walked to school. A big shout out to Utah State Board of Education member Laren Longacre for attending that welcome to our Entrada Adult High School students. You can see also that we have members of our Board of Education and Administration. You can see Ms. Pedersen is there, standing there with the blue and green balloons. That are the colors of Entrada. You can see that we are so proud of the new logo and the mascot of Entrada. Blue and green, and the navigators, they are truly navigating the rest of their lives. Hundreds of people graduate from Entrada every year. Some need a diploma to enlist in the military. Others are veterans who were drafted before they could graduate. We see single mothers and 20-somethings who are overcoming personal issues that prevented them from graduating with their peers. And for its student-centered focus, in 2025, Entrada was recognized as the state's best all-around adult education program by the State Board of Education. Now, Friday was a really big night for Canyons District football teams. We had some big wins against some big teams, and Corner Canyon cut the ribbon at the school's new field house. The night coincided with the start of the Sutera era at Charger Stadium, and you can see there that Coach Sutera spoke at the ribbon-cutting ceremony. We had moved that event inside the new field house when it started to storm on Friday afternoon. The field house has turf for football, soccer, and lacrosse. It has retractable netting, allows baseball and softball teams to create indoor batting cages. And for student athletes, our field houses means we have given them a place to practice in the Utah summer heat, in the Utah winters, or when poor air quality makes outdoor training difficult. But the field houses are not just for our athletic teams, they're for all of our students, so they can learn how to live healthy lives. Now, with the completion of the field houses at Corner Canyon High School and at Jordan High, all Canyons District traditional comprehensive high schools have these state-of-the-art indoor training facilities, and all of this is thanks to the decisions to improve our facilities made by the Board of Education. Now, the crews are hard at work to complete the new field house and the Black Box Theater at Jordan High School, like we mentioned. Those two projects are major parts of the exciting renovation and upgrade projects at Jordan High. As part of next week's homecoming celebration for the Beat Diggers, we're holding a pep rally-like ribbon-cutting ceremony right there in front of the field house. It'll start at 7:30. It'll be immediately following the homecoming parade. After the ribbon cutting, guests can either go to the stadium to attend the homecoming assembly, or they can tour our brand new amazing facilities at Jordan High School. The entire community is welcome, and the spirit of homecoming is always electric. But we recognize homecoming is about more than just a game on the field. It's a celebration of the school, our community, our collective strength, and the connections that bring us all together. Homecoming is what you feel when you find yourself in Canyons. President Schill, thank you for this time so that we can do our Canyon Strong recognitions. We hope everyone has a safe and relaxing Labor Day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have now come to the public comment portion of our board meeting. The Board of Education encourages public engagement and values input from our students, parents, employees, and other patrons of the district. Patron comment time is limited to residents and taxpayers of Canyons District, students and parents of students, and current employees of the district. Patrons may provide board members with written documents. These documents must be submitted to the board secretary at the meeting, and she's right over there, or emailed to the Office of Public Communications by noon of the day following the board meeting. Tonight, individuals will be given 3 minutes, and those representing groups will be given 5 minutes. Comments made during patron comment time are part of the public record. It is the board's practice to listen and take notes during patron comments. The Board of Education does not discuss matters that are not on the meeting's agenda, nor engage in public comment on individual students to protect their privacy or employee issues. If a patron wants to comment on a district employee's character, professional competence, or mental or physical health, the board requests that those comments be submitted to the board in writing. However, if the patron determines to verbally comment on those personal issues, the comments need to be civil and refrain from personal attacks, insults, defamatory, or slanderous comments about an individual. The Board of Education values input on all sides of issues. To maintain decorum and respect, we ask that those in attendance refrain from applause or other types of demonstrations during the patron comment time, as well as throughout the meeting. So the first person that has signed up is Krista Pippin, and she is representing a group, so we'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you. That was good. All right. Good evening. I appreciate the time we have to get up and comment. And I wanted to thank the board and our district leadership for your advocacy and for your support of our Canyons educators and of our Canyons students. And I'm Krista Pippin. I'm a proud 6th grade social studies teacher. I teach at Draper Park Middle School. I'm currently serving my last term as Canyons Education President. And I'm delighted tonight to introduce to you CEA's Executive Board. We have an outstanding group of teacher leaders this year, and they largely volunteer their time, and they share the mission of advocacy with you. They advocate for our students. They advocate for our educators. They advocate and defend for the promise of education. And the students and their success is always at the heart of everything that we do. And I just wanted to take a minute to let them introduce themselves. And then I will give to Cindy to give to you our directory and just remind you that we can help you with educator surveys and connections and educator perspectives. It also has our building leader meeting schedule. We've seen board member Pedersen and Mr. Edel come and talk with our leaders, our educator leaders, and we would invite all of you to come as well. So I'm sorry, Miss Dolly has been there too.
I feel like they've all been there. I was almost there. Hey, my name is Rebecca Allen. I teach 6th grade science at Albion Middle School. I am currently, for the year 26-27, the VP of CEA. I'm also honored to serve on the negotiations team, which works with a whole bunch of you up here. And we're just grateful to have this opportunity and to continue to build the relationships we have with you. So thanks.
Hi, my name is Alexis Johnson. I teach 1st grade at Willow Canyon Elementary. This is my first year on the executive board. I've been here for about 3 months, so I'm really excited to see where this goes.
My name is Sam Madden, and I teach 5th grade at Quail Hollow Elementary. I'm one of the elementary representatives for CEA, and I would love to get the elementary task force rolling again as we're looking at these individual rating plans and trying to find the best way to advocate for our students and teachers.
My name is Ben Kaiser. I teach at Mount Jordan Middle School, 8th grade social studies, and I am the middle school representative on the Canyons Education Association Executive Board. It's my 3rd year in Canyons. I'm super excited to be here and to be working with such great folks in CEA and to be working for our teachers and our students as well.
My name's Katie Wilkinson, and I represent high school. I currently teach at Alta High School. That's the only school I've been at in Canyons District. Been there 13 years. I absolutely love being part of the executive board. I get to know all kinds of interesting things I didn't know before. So thank you. I look forward to working with you.
Thanks again for giving us time to introduce ourselves, and we're looking forward to another great collaborative year.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Okay, the next person that has signed up is Debbie Dirty, and you'll have 3 minutes.
It still says 5. I'll just stop at 2.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Debbie Durchie. I've spent over 10 years on school committee councils in Comwood Heights at Butler Middle School, Ridgecrest Elementary School, and Brighton High School. Canyons District recently has invested millions of dollars in making the Canyons Innovation Center. It will be a great opportunity for the future. However, with it scheduled to open in fall of 2027, for that investment to provide equitable and an equal opportunity across our district, we need to address Brighton's trimester system. That schedule right now is making it inequitable. Brighton is the farthest high school from the CIC and the only Canyons high school on a trimester schedule. For Brighton students to have the same practical access to CIC programs, or even CTEC right now, their schedule needs to line up with the other Canyons high schools. In April 2025, Brighton's STC was told that committee was planned specifically to study the trimester schedule in partnership with the Innovation Center. What happened to that committee? Because the problem hasn't gone away. The district can allocate Brighton the same portion of CIC seats all day long. But if our students can't fit those programs into their school day and travel there and back without sacrificing other classes, that is not an equal opportunity. Equal seats do not mean equal access. Brighton families have spent years working around the trimester schedule, children taking 0 periods so they can be in choir, early morning classes, after school classes, summer school, online packets, private online high schools, private driver's ed, simply to have an opportunity to take the classes they want during the school year. Tonight, you will be receiving an update from your High Quality Learning Committee. And I suggest that high quality learning, and science does too, includes a continuity of instruction, especially in your cumulative subjects such as mathematics, chemistry, physics, languages, or even things like dance and music. Brighton's trimester can create months-long interruptions between sequential courses, such as math. They can have a full trimester gap in the middle of the year, or if they finish in February, they might not have math again until August. This is going to impact their ACT scores. I was once told, oh, it's only 2 or 3 points. That's a difference between a full ride and something else with your scholarships. And not every parent at Brighton can afford the $600 ACT prep class to improve their child's score by that many 100 points, let alone have the day off of work or not a day off of babysitting children of their siblings. We have a principal's pantry at Brighton right now because it is a diverse economic thing. And this is not fair to the people who do not have. Simply telling someone who has a CTEC class that ends and has no classes for 2 weeks that the kids just go skiing. And I literally said, well, that's good for the kids with a 4-wheel drive and a ski pass. And that was the response given to me when I served on the community council at Brighton High School years ago. Brighton's trimester does not align well with college semesters. It's not the best model. If it's the best model, then why aren't all the other high schools forced to do it? Why do all the kids at Brighton High School have to move their opportunities out of the regular school day? Why are Brighton families required to work around the academic gaps? If it's not good enough for everyone else, why are my children and everyone in my neighborhood forced into this system that Salt Lake City District dropped in the early 2000s? East High hasn't done it forever. That's it. Sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
I came right from work.
Our next person that has signed up is Katie Wilkinson.
Hi, again. I wanted to let you know that I'm not here as the CEA representative for high school. I'm here representing my department at Alta High School. We've been talking since last year about Google Gemini. It was a program, the package was bought, as we were told, for our administrators and our secondary teachers, specifically high school, to help them with their Learn AI and all of that. The concern, number one, is the cost. We want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible and buying tools that our students are going to use. With that, in my school specifically, a lot of us have blocked Google Gemini. Our students are not using it to help them grow and develop their skills. They're using it to cheat. When you use a program like LM Notebook and you're telling the students, okay, you can put all of your worksheets and everything in there and it will teach it for you, it'll give you the answers, it'll summarize it for you, the students aren't learning those skills. And that's where my department is concerned. We're concerned that a program was bought for our children but not before they learned the skills.
So we just want to make sure if Google Gemini is still purchased, that maybe the teachers have a little more understanding on why. Because right now we're just looking at it going, we're paying for a tool for our kids to cheat, and that doesn't help anybody. Thank you so much. That's been bugging me since last year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. And I will now take a motion to approve that, and please read each item individually.
I'll make that motion. Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes item A, approval of minutes for August 18th, 2026. Item B, approval of hire and termination reports. Item C, approval of purchasing bids. And item D, approval of administrative appointments.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion to those items and to the motion? Okay, seeing none, I will now call for a vote to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, good. We heard Jackson, so that is approved by everyone, so it is unanimous. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the new business, and item A is policy update, and it's policy 300.01, school access, discussion of visitor management protocols, and this is a second reading possible action. And this will be presented by Jeff Christensen, Assistant Legal Counsel.
Thank you, President Scheel. So as we discussed in our first reading and study session at our last board meeting, the policy committee is recommending an update to our school access policy where we're including out of statute school visitor management protocols. In our discussion in the policy committee, we discussed adding the statutory definitions to our policy for controlled access points, which typically are our front office, school hours, as outlined in the statute, visitor, and the visitor management system. In the policy, we'll have language that all visitors, which include parents, guests, volunteers, and contractors or service providers, are required to enter the schools at the front office, the controlled access point, during designated school hours, and then report to the front office and log in to or sign into the visitor or volunteer management system. And the third piece is they'll present government-issued identification or other acceptable identification as outlined in this exhibit, which is approved by the Board of Education. I'll now go to that exhibit. So as you can see here, Exhibit 1, and this is also on board docs for your review, we've listed approved forms of identification. Whenever possible, visitors should present physical or a digital form of identification. And we've listed here state driver's license, but also taken into consideration other forms of ID that may be foreign, student ID cards, passports, military identification cards. And this is our proposed list at this time in the exhibit. As we move and continue implementing, we could add additional items to this exhibit at a later point if we found it necessary. The other element is we are also going to recognize alternative forms of ID. If they don't have a picture ID, we can accept other forms, and it's outlined in the exhibit. In situations where individuals may not have physical photo identification and they're seeking to enter the school and engage with staff or students, staff will be able to verify their identity with information they may have with respect to their student using our student information system. And once that's done, if is necessary, we can escort individuals through the building as needed if they lack identification. In the policy, though not required by statute, we're adding some language for district and school employees as they visit school facilities. They're required to check in at the front office to let the office know that they'll be there to perform district facilities and perform work. An exception that we added in the policy committee from our ESP employees is that on occasion we have employees, and it's part of their responsibilities, they may go to areas of a school campus to provide deliveries, and so we've added an exception for
those employees and contracted delivery services that go to other designated points at the school. And we believe these safety measures will protect all CSD students and help identify employees. In the first reading, we also discussed school access for parent, visitor, and community access. And during the first reading, we talked about connecting with our high schools about instructional hours. Our elementary and middle schools have closed campuses, and meaning we don't generally permit individuals to use the campus facilities during the day. Our high schools have been more open in the past. In meeting with our high school principals, this policy will now state that during instructional hours, the first bell to the last bell, when students are present at school, school campus facilities, including outside fields and courts, will be reserved exclusively for students, staff, and authorized personnel, and closed to the general public unless we have an existing agreement. For instance, a rental contract or an interlocal agreement, as we have with some entities for use of our facilities. And then after instructional hours, students, staff, and authorized personnel will still maintain priority access for club activities and extracurricular events. In our first reading, we discussed this, and we met with all the high school principals that they're supportive of this moving forward so that we can allow, they'll have guidance for when situations arise when individuals come on campus during instructional hours. Then the other exhibit that's in policy, the statute outlines a number of exceptions to visitor management protocols, and the policy committee is recommending 4 exceptions as listed in the exhibit. Emergency situations requiring immediate access to the school building. My phone is silenced, but it is persistent this evening, forgive me. Law enforcement officers, firefighters, or emergency medical personnel according to emergencies. And then number 3, there are events that we hold during school where we have a large number of visitors on school campuses as determined by the principal, and we just give some examples, parades or celebrations. In these instances, visitors will be provided an event sticker, and during those exceptions, it's impractical to check everybody's ID as they're entering, but we will have a sticker so that they can move through the facility and be known, and then as needed, check those that may not have that and escort them. The policy also outlines if we identify individuals that don't have identification, they're directed back to the front office to obtain appropriate identification or their issues be addressed and returned to the front office. And then the last one is school-sponsored public events outside of regular school hours. I would direct your attention to the red line as we've discussed, and I can respond to questions based on the policy committee's work on visitor management protocols.
Okay, board, are there any questions? Mr. Edel?
So I don't actually have questions, I just want to say stuff. This policy does a lot and at the same time doesn't do a lot. And I say it does a lot because it covers a number of different things, from visitors coming into our schools to ensuring that we have secure campuses and that our administrators are empowered to ensure that our students are safe, right? What it doesn't do is it doesn't really change that a whole lot, right? You already needed to be vetted to come into the schools. There's not a whole lot of changes. So I really appreciate this, and we've spent quite a bit of time on this, and there's been a lot of different input that's come onto it. And I feel like we've gotten to a point where it makes sense, right? How to get on campus, to make sure that we check in, to make sure that everybody checks in, right? Because ultimately, the question that we need to ask is, how does this benefit students? And it benefits students by adding that first layer of security, right, and that first layer of deterrence, ensuring that our administrators are able to secure their campuses without unduly restricting public access to schools, right? Just as you're not going to have public access to our elementary playgrounds during the school hours, right? But you do after school hours. There's really no changes, and some slight changes for our high schools, but again, it's all about the students.
I do appreciate the people who came forward to discuss the deliveries. That was something that wasn't in the original policy that people brought up saying, hey, this is an issue. And so we were able to get that addressed. As those other things come up, I hope that people continue to bring those up instead of saying things like, oh, that's the policy, I guess we're going to do this really dumb thing for forever. Because I'm sure there's something we haven't thought of that we may as well just change if that's dumb, right? I also want to point out that this doesn't just create more work for the sake of creating work, right? Especially with controlled events like your Halloween parade or your sing-along assembly that you're going to have in elementary school. We're able to get parents into a controlled area where they're able to watch their students do whatever it is that they're going to do, and then remove all non-vetted people from the area afterwards, right? But we're not just going through motions of things for the sake of going through motions. And so I appreciate all of the work we've done and all the input that's gone into this. I think it's a really good policy in the end.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Mrs. Pedersen?
I just have a really quick question. I really like this policy. I think we've really been pretty thorough. My question is for those members of our community who do not have students at the school, how are we going to let them know that they can't just bring their kids over to swing on the swings? Or when at elementary schools, I often see people walking their dogs across the playground or through our fields, and they're not necessarily dangerous people, but having those extra people means that when I'm on duty outside, I can't watch my kids for safe reasons. I'm having to watch them. So there's a really good reason why we don't want extra people on the playground, especially if our students are already out there. Is there any provision for notifying? Are we going to have signs? Just for those that are not in the community, because I do believe that our parents understand and have been notified by their individual schools pretty well about checking in. I've seen every parent square has said that. So I think we got it. But I was wondering about the non-school community members.
Yeah, great question. So in the policy itself, we have not addressed a distribution plan in the policy. Typically to inform staff, we always have memos that go out to address internal staff. We can certainly work with communications and look at how best we get that out to our communities. I know we're in the process of, we always need to update signage, and I think we'll be working on appropriate signage for our facilities. So I know those pieces will be in place, and I'm happy to let superintendent respond or others, but I will have a communication plan given these new protocols.
I just don't want the community to either feel like we're picking on them or taking away their taxpayer rights. I just want them to understand that student safety is number one, and that's what the purpose of this is.
Certainly.
So if I could just add something to that really quickly. We do have signs that are currently on our schools, and we are looking at modifying those signs and addressing the new verbiage and trying to find the most effective way of doing that without listing lengthy policy, if that makes sense. So there will be that type of signage, but I also would argue or state that this is going to be very similar to the visitor check-in process. It's new to everyone, and it'll take some time for people to adjust, and they'll learn as we continue to try and communicate on our sides, but there will be a lot of the at-school type things where administration's mentioning, hey, this isn't the time or place, and the change is different. Yeah.
Yep. Good question.
Okay, Mrs. Nybar.
I just wanted to briefly comment. Thank you to everyone on policy committee. I feel like we really honed in and went through everything pretty specifically, and appreciated the work we did with the alternative forms of ID, as well as kind of nailing down to be specific, because at first the policy didn't outline like school campuses and fields, which is kind of, you know, the largest concern, what Mrs. Pedersen just mentioned. You know, we don't have people coming into our building just wandering around because of the check-in policy, but that's really the concern, is the fields and the, you know, the playgrounds and the exterior. So I think it's all addressed really well, and I'm in favor too of extra communication too.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say that. I really appreciate you talking to the high school principals. I know like there were a couple of us that wanted just to get their feedback, so that I do appreciate that and you letting us know what they said. So thank you. And I think there's been a lot of really good changes. I think we had a good discussion last board meeting, and I do appreciate policy committee and just the more detail that you've put in, I think is really good. So board, do we want to possibly have a motion and pass this at this point, or do we want to wait till next meeting?
I move to approve policy 300.01, school access.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, I will now take a vote on the move to approve policy 300.01, school access. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oh, good. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. And thank you again, Mr. Lewis, it was kind of good that you paused so we could hear you, so. Okay, thank you, Mr. Christensen. We are now gonna go on to new business item B, and that is the strategic plan focus group high quality learning. This will be by Mindy Robinson, Assistant Superintendent.
Good evening, board. I'm excited to present about some of the great work that our High Quality Learning Committee has put together and shared. They asked if we'd share this time, and I was more than excited to do this. There's some great work, and high quality is so important, what we're doing. That's why we exist as a district, to make sure that our students are receiving the highest quality of education. I've listed the 4 impact statements. 2 of them that I'm going to really focus on tonight is Utah's Portrait of a Graduate, that in Canyons we call Utah's Portrait of a Canyon Scholar, and then talking a little bit about the durable skills. Thank you to all the people who serve on this committee. We know it's a lot of time and effort, but we're really moving forward with our key priorities. And this year, those 4 key priorities are Portrait of a Canyon Scholar, the early literacy that comes from our SB 241, and the other 2 that I'll present later through the year is instruction using a balanced technology approach and professional learning communities. The work of a Portrait of a Canyon Scholar is very personal to me as a principal. When I was at Midvale Middle School, one thing that was really important to me is that we really focused on durable skills and made sure our students were prepared for the future. I love what Jeff Haney reminded us as he began tonight when we were talking about the kindergartners, I will be ready. And I think about this, and this is part of being ready for life, is having those durable skills. As we implemented at Midvale Middle School, what we saw, some kids who had never been recognized for incredible things became recognized. And we realized how in line these Portrait of a Canyon Scholar characteristics were for every student to be successful no matter what they choose to do. So with that, we're really excited that we're at a point that we're really implementing and really close to implementing. And so I'm just gonna go through 4 things by level as well as the brochure that we've been working on. So after years, because some of you have been doing this for years, we have a close to finished product of a brochure that really outlines the 5 characteristics that we are focused on as Portrait of a Canyon Scholar. And those are innovator, critical thinker, resilient learner, collaborator, and impactful citizen. And in this brochure, the goal was to really, from all the work we've done, to go ahead and to look at that at the different grade bands. And so what we've done is taken each of those areas and looked at it from preschool to 2nd, 3rd to 5th, 6th to 8th, and 9th to 12th. And then we've built that alignment and that vertical articulation over time. The other thing that we are really excited is to have a page for parents or teachers or grandparents or anyone who wants to promote these characteristics with the children they're working with. But what are some questions you can ask? And so I know it's kind of small there, but you'll get a beautiful copy as soon as we finished all the edits. But really thinking through, what can I ask my student? Were you an innovator today? No matter if they're a 1st grader that's just exploring a new idea or a senior in high school that's in an AP class that's doing that. And so that's our Portrait of a Canyon Scholar brochure. And by next year, it will be fully ready to implement, but also to hand out so both our parents, our teachers, and at all levels, we can really focus on these important durable skills. By level, some of the things that we're doing, this is currently in elementary, the learning skills that are listed. And so what we are going to do is we are having a group of elementary people working together, and these by the next school year will be aligned to our characteristics so that we're building that capacity. In my prior role, I had the opportunity to be the director of middle schools, and
as I already mentioned, I might be fairly passionate about Portrait of a Canyon Scholar. This summer, I anticipated to have time. Life happens, and some things happened that took me away from the work, and very fortunate we had Angie Holden became the director, and all the middle school principals last year had committed that we are willing to try this and pilot it. So Angie did all the work, so in fairness to her, I know she was super excited. I said, Angie, you did so much work. I want you to come and present the work you did. So I'm going to give Angie a few minutes to show what she's been working on.
Thank you, Mindy, and thank you, board and superintendent, for having me here. Middle schools are passionate and excited to pilot the new citizenship grades aligned to the Canyon's Portrait of a Scholar. And so we just wanted to share some exciting things that are happening with the middle schools. We feel like middle school is the bridge from elementary and the bridge to high school. So we have this really sweet spot in the middle where we get to take what they've learned from elementary and prepare them to move into high school. So this infographic just shows you our focus this year of we're working on creating independence and consistency with our middle school students as they work through the different characteristics of Portrait of a Canyon Scholar. So each middle school has chosen one, two, or all of the characteristics. We're just piloting and trying things out to focus on, and our goal is to help those students develop from support to independence through these skills. And we want them to be able to expand their perspectives. As it says in our new brochure, the 6th through 8th grade are exploring and developing and finding that confidence in learning both academic, social behavior skills. So each middle school, like I said, has chosen some of the characteristics. We chose Resilient Learner to share with you this evening because the majority of the middle schools chose this characteristic, and I think it is an important characteristic, especially in middle school. So the resources that we were able to develop and provide to principals and they were able to share with their educators when they returned back this school year are the progressions for each skill. You'll see those. So how do we get them to independence? We also created reflection questions based on the brochure, and so we've provided those to the teachers to embed in their practices, in their advisory classes. And then we've also developed some teacher toolkits for teachers to be able to work with students and have evidence of how students are meeting the characteristics and skills. So we're really excited. We have some schools that are just going for it. They have posters in their schools with the different characteristics. I hope that as you get out to schools, you'll be able to see some of the exciting things that they're doing. So again, this is just an at a glance for our middle school 6 through 8 and where we're headed. We plan to update High Quality Learning Committee every meeting with just some of the innovative and celebrations. We're asking our educators who are amazing to implement this in middle school to give us feedback. And so we're excited to lay the groundwork for our elementaries and high schools.
Thank you, Angie, and thank you for the incredible work that she's put forward to get us started on this pilot year as we do the citizenship. With all of that work in the middle schools, we wanted to make sure that we're also continuing on with the high schools. So what we are currently in the process of creating is chord recognition. So the students who are currently in 9th grade will be the first group of students who are able to be eligible for these chords. Dr. Tom Sherwood is working with a large group of high school, both counselors, administrators, to work through this because we want to do it right. What we're looking at right now is there would be 5 different chords that our seniors could qualify for based on each of the 5 characteristics, and we're also looking at possible different levels from a gold, silver, and bronze. We're in the process of soliciting feedback from our stakeholders and also being very cognizant of our educators and our counselors' time, so it's not as much of it we'd like to be data that they can quickly achieve. And so we are really excited about our plan for Portrait of a Canyon Scholar. I know that those of you who have been on the committees for a while are also excited that we're moving forward and we're seeing some great things happening in all our schools. The second item I just wanted to take a minute on is, as we've been talking about high quality, is just ensuring that we all understand some of the components of the elementary literacy, specifically to SB 241. This graphic was created by our instructional supports department. I have to go back. I need to do a huge shout out to Katie Gephardt from ISD who put together the brochure for Portrait of Canyon Scholar. She spent this summer working on that, so thank you, Katie. I apologize, that was in my notes and I got excited. So on to early literacy. So we are really trying to be systematic and thoughtful. I was glad that when we had a member of CEA talk about the elementary task force and saying IRP is individualized reading plan. This is something that's now required for our elementary students and teachers to work through. And so a lot of thought, this has been in collaboration with School Performance and Instructional Supports Department, really chunking this, taking this SB 241 and making sure that it makes sense for our schools and our schools are supported as possible. So this just gave the August through September. There's obviously more timelines, but this just kind of gives a brief overview of some of the things that happened from District Day that many of us were able to attend in the elementary schools where they talked about this to back to school nights. I'll show you one of the flyers that they handed out as well. Then we also had our principals were just trained on the individualized reading plans. And a huge shout out, I know Justin, you're hiding somewhere here, but Justin Anderson has spent significant time helping to make this as simple as possible for our educators because we do realize how valuable their time is. And then the next thing that will be happening is the principals will all be having faculty meetings and so on. But you can see it's been very thoughtful because in the parent-teacher conference meeting on September 21st and 23rd, this is where we will first roll out that first part of SB 241 where the students who need an individualized reading plan will receive that, and the parents, and we can work together with parents and teachers on those individualized reading plans. The other thing that the Instructional Supports Department created was this Read, Talk, Wonder, and Solve document that most parents received it during back to school night for elementary, and similar to the document that you saw in Portrait of a Canyon Scholar, the right-hand side kind of talks through some different things that you can do as a family. We know literacy is a community issue. We know that the more we all work together, that's how we really improve literacy. It's not on one person, it's community working together. And so there's some really great points here about how important it is to read, but to talk, to wonder, and to solve, which I also love aligns with our Portrait of a Canyon Scholar. On the bottom, it's linked to an article. And that article, don't worry, I'm not reading all that, Andrew. I'm just going to highlight 3 because Andrew gave me some good advice about slides. And so we really wanted to make sure that we understand that literacy has so many important aspects. And I love how it can improve sleep, critical thinking skills, the cognition, problem solving. And so this article, I think, was really a good reminder for all of us, no matter what age we are, that literacy is so important, but especially for our young kids, that the quicker we can help them be literate, how important that is. And then just finally, I think many of you are aware, some of us were able to attend the conference that Governor and First Lady Cox had just locally here. And Governor Cox and his wife are doing a statewide readathon, and we're excited. I think it really brings attention to the literacy. And so every Canyon School District will be participating. We really encourage people to come to the schools that day to read, to sign up as cleared volunteers. We're asking district office staff, and a lot more will be coming, but I love the celebration of reading across all levels, K to 12. So those are just 2 things that we're highlighting right now in high quality, really that Portrait of a Canyon Scholar, but also being very cognizant of what's going on with the early literacy. So happy to answer any questions or entertain any comments.
Okay, thank you. Board, are there any comments, questions? Mrs. Pedersen.
This is so exciting. I've been on not this particular committee, but they integrate so often that this is really exciting to see that we're getting to the part where we can actually implement. It's been quite the process. I do have a couple of questions, and I'm going back to your first part of the presentation, the literacy part. I don't have a question on that for a minute. Is this brochure, when it's ready to be released, going to be accessible to the community online?
Yes.
So that a parent can refer back to that
100%.
At any time?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it would be. On your citizenship grade staircase, okay, I hate acronyms and all that good stuff, so I was wondering, what's a U1, an N2, an S3, and an H4? I understand 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't understand the NS, and there's no key.
Yeah.
I do know how to read, but I couldn't find a key anywhere. So, go ahead.
No, that is a great question, and I failed to mention that we created rubrics for each of the characteristics. And so citizenship grades traditionally have been H, S,
and U
Okay.
in the past. However, we do have some schools that want to move to more standard-based grading or student reflection where they give themselves scores of 4,
Okay.
3, 2, 1. So since it's a pilot, we're piloting all the options and then going to kind of see what works best as we give feedback to students and parents regarding citizenship grades.
We might want to put a little asterisk down at the bottom just for all of us.
Thank you.
Because I'm looking all over and going, what is that?
And
And I know you said citizenship, but it did not make that connection for me.
And I could have been clear on that, but if you have the whole document, which we'd be willing
I'm
to share
sure
with,
it makes more sense, but
Yeah,
just
but
had to
thank
ask
you.
that one. And have you defined a way that they're going to be able to measure the results of this pilot?
So I
Comparing,
think,
what are we going to compare?
yeah, so I think that's a tiny bit challenging, but also
I
we're going to
know.
be getting a lot of feedback. I think there's many stakeholders here. First of all, parents, I think are going to be really important. Are you getting better feedback of what your child has? I think students, and we'll be doing that. Also looking at what the staff thinks. Well, the tricky thing, like you said, Karen, is how do you compare, let's just say it was an H, an honors citizenship, with something that was completely dependent on what a teacher did, not even a school. So,
Right.
great question.
And it's not been determined completely.
Not completely, but I do think we definitely have plans of how we'll be reaching out to the stakeholders and the process of reflection through that.
Because I would really like to see, as each of our committees are working, that when we have a goal, we know where we're starting.
Yep.
And then we do our implementation, and then we're going to be able to evaluate, was that successful and how? So we need to have some actual data.
Yes.
Not just a feel.
No, I completely
Anecdotal
agree.
is really good, but I really would like to be as data-driven so that we can actually measure.
I love that you're talking to a math teacher because I might love that too.
Numbers.
We're just trying to, I think the one that's
It's
a
really
little
tricky.
bit challenging too is we have to change process. So this might take some time because I love James Clare work from Atomic Habits that reminds us that even beyond the goal, you've got to have the process in place. And so we're going to get there. And I also think the thing that will be interesting is we're going to be able to do some things, I think, with the chords in the high school, because if the students actually know what those characteristics are, when they come into ninth grade, it's going to be much more easier. So I think it's going to be a longitudinal as we look through that. But yes, I
Obviously,
am
it's
more than
taken
happy.
us
I will
4
present
years to
data
get this far.
anytime you will let me. So
It's
not a
taken
problem.
years to get to where we're at, not a
Yes.
ton of years, but still
Yes,
time.
we'll make sure that that's
From when
enough
we
time.
defined what those objectives should be and to be able to actually implement it. The
Happy to do
wheels
that.
of progress are slow, but they're moving.
Yes, we
And
forget that.
I appreciate that. And I just wanted to point out that the reason we're choosing chords for the high school students to work towards is that we actually asked them in our student advisory council, and they said an advanced diploma or any of those other things meant zero to them and 0 to the schools that they apply to. Because they're already, scholarships and stuff have already been given before that final senior year graduation process. So we asked them what would they like instead, and they went crazy for chords. So they like lots of bling, and I like the gold, the
looking at
medals
different, yeah.
idea.
Thank you,
kind of
and I'm
thing.
glad you reminded us because I do think many of you were in that advisory that the students really gave us great feedback.
was
and I
their
love-
request.
And I love that we were able to go towards what the students were really asking for.
Yeah. Thank you, Mindy.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Nybar, then Mrs. Dolly.
First off, thank you. This was actually really exciting to see these slides. So much work, and I used to be on the High Quality Learning Committee, and so being there through the genesis of this, it was really cool to see concrete. Here we are. I'm super excited. So thank you so much. So many hours. I think actually on your slides delineating, what does the Canyons Portrait Scholar mean and how are we going to see it? I think it's fantastic. I think you did an excellent job. My thoughts are along Karen's as well as far as how do we measure. I love the self-reflection piece. Something we talked about a lot when I was on the committee is allowing the students to put together portfolios. And so I'm just thinking maybe it's the teacher in me, but if their self-reflection piece is gathered and it's a portfolio that moves with them from year to year, that also gives the students an ability to look back at last year where they were at and then see where they're at this year and even develop that much more self-reflection. I also think having a portfolio also
there's a measurability to that. The kids that are putting in the work and actually the time to really do self-reflection. So I think that would maybe be an easy and great way for them. And then also a lot of times when these kids get to the point where they're starting to apply for universities, honestly, a lot of the essay questions in the universities they'd be able to draw straight from that portfolio to answer those questions. So I think our kids would be so far ahead if we utilize that. And then also you also have you have the ability to be able to also put that on display at some point too. So I think that's a really cool thing. As far as the literacy, one thing I loved is I saw on the slide about how we're going to be purposeful in looking at limiting how much of the reading is on technology. I saw that in there, and I love that. I just had an awesome conversation with our new principal at Willow Springs, Amy Wagner, a few weeks ago, who she really kind of limited that at Silver Mesa for kindergarten, first grade. And I know she also served on our technology committee. And I really, really love the idea that these kids can have a little more time just with regular books, especially in the early reading, early literacy, and what that means for their developing brains is huge, rather than doing those some of that reading on a screen. So as far as the chords, I love that idea. I remember that feedback from student advisory, so that's perfect. I actually thought that the gold, silver, bronze is kind of a lot because we have 5.
Well, it's 15.
Right? So I'm thinking, and I'm thinking as a teacher, if I were a teacher trying to delineate for my kids who gets the gold, who gets the silver, I think that requires a ton of time. And so I would be more of the inclination to say, you know what, let's just keep it simple. You either get it or you don't. Because I think that's going to resolve a lot of hours for teachers. And I think if we have that standard, or if we really feel strongly that there has to be 2, I'd rather do 2 than 3, because it kind of feels a little bit, I don't want it to be like every kid gets a trophy. So like if you provided the least amount of effort, but at least you provided some, you're going to get a bronze. You know what I mean? I just want to kind of make sure we're steering clear of that
And
situation.
that's why they're doing the committee, because one thing is a lot of it was when Dr. Sherwood was looking at that, we wanted to see which things that you could pull up from a transcript and say, okay, right here. And so a teacher, there would either be someone else, most likely this will not fall on the teacher, was what we had talked about recently. But that's why also, and I really liked what our superintendent said in that meeting, just we want to be really thoughtful of how we do that. And that was why that last bullet said the time management piece, that whatever we create, because I'm with you, if you have 15, what does that look like? Whatever we're going to do, it's the most automated way we can do that, but still acknowledge the uniqueness of it.
Okay, so you're thinking not teachers, because I was thinking
it would not
as
be
a teacher.
Right now it wouldn't be. On the teachers,
if I had to go
just
through
like
5 portraits,
no,
5
right
characteristics, and then say silver, gold, bronze, that's...
No, we would not put this on teachers. And in fairness, just because that's why we're trying to look at the system of who could do this and what would be the most sustainable. So thank you.
So what are the thoughts throwing around then? Who would be the one? Would it be...
It would...
counselors, or what do you think?
Maybe, but what we're trying to figure out is, and this is just being very transparent, these are at the very beginnings, that's why we wanted to kind of slow down. But when we were looking at diplomas before, teachers weren't doing the honors and advanced diplomas. It landed more with counseling. But in fairness to counselors and all that, we aren't saying this is necessarily them, but that's why the whole committee will be looking through, and counselors will be on there, teachers and administrators, and then that's why we'll come back and share more of those details about that.
So maybe like a graduation committee that could have some teachers, counselors, administrators.
Yeah, I think that would make the most sense, because we don't want this to fall on one person, and we don't want it to make it, that was why that last bullet was so important, and that's why also we have a little bit of time, because it's the current 9th graders, but we also want to be really honest with our 9th graders so that they're working for it too. Okay. Those are great questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Dolly.
Thank you. I want to thank both of you for all your work on this. It's been awesome. I've got a 6th grader this year, and she showed me her grades the other day, but she was most proud of her citizenship. And so the fact that, that's important to them. And even as we met with the high school student advisory committee, as we talked about this portrait of a Canyon scholar, more than just the chords, they were really excited about it because they could see the benefit that these skills will help prepare them for college and careers. And they're like, why aren't our teachers calling this stuff out? Does this exist? Like, let's use this terminology. Let's help us build these skills. And so they're super excited about the focus on this and helping them build these skills that they need to be successful.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy to hear about your sixth grader. Angie and I are like, yes, okay, sorry.
Okay, Mrs. Oaks.
Yes, I just want to reiterate so much of what's been said, and also to clear up part of what Holly was saying. I think next time it would be worthwhile for us to show the rest of the board the list of what we're looking at that qualifies. So Tom Sherwood has come up with a really big list, and they're still getting feedback, like where everything kind of accrues in a point system. And there's a wide range of things, of everything from like playing in the orchestra pit for a musical to participating in athletics or debate team, and also that the idea that there can also be certain things that kids can do outside of school that would also qualify that they could demonstrate, whether they've been on like a mayor's youth council or something that demonstrates citizenship, right? So, and some of these things, various activities would qualify for more than one possibility. So anyway, they're thinking a lot about it. And we've kind of done a deep dive on some of that and still working on it. But one of the things I just want to reiterate and point out is the fact that the Portrait of a Canyon Scholar really, in large measure, has been influenced by the feedback that we got from industry partners throughout the state when we were doing research about what we needed to create at the Innovation Center. And that was one thing we shared with the Student Advisory Council, as we told them so much of what those leaders had to say, because we had very candid conversations. What is public school doing well, and what are we not doing well? What do we need to improve on? And they talked over and over again about these professional skill sets and character traits that they find are missing in a lot of graduates, that they come out with like amazing grades or test scores and sometimes even portfolios, but they don't always have these outward skills, like being able to look somebody in the eye and be able to orally present their ideas effectively, right? So when we shared that with the students, that's when they got really jazzed and they said, oh, do we do that very well? I don't know, like I need to be thinking about that. So I do love this focus. It feels like kind of a full circle moment, because I remember growing up and a lot of these things were naturally emphasized. And there have been certain changes in education over the decades that have kind of pulled us away from that. And I find it comforting that we're moving back to a lot of that, right? There's no replacement for a student being able to carry on an intelligent conversation eye to eye with someone and be able to communicate their ideas effectively. And that's something, to the point of our awesome teacher from Alta that spoke earlier, like AI can't do that, right? It doesn't matter how much you look up something on Gemini, it doesn't replace the ability to be able to do that person to person. And so I love that we're doing this. Angie, you've done incredible work. I was so jazzed at our last meeting, and I still am. I see it, and I really love it. And I love the worksheet that they presented for parents with regard to reading with your children. I am of the very strong opinion that there is nothing in this world that will produce a more dedicated and excited reader than a loving caregiver sitting down with a child to read. It's like, for me, actually gets very emotional, because that's where my love of education started, was with my mother, and who loved books. And she would take me to the library and she would find treasures. And those moments with her were so amazing that it creates that sense of wonder and question and creativity. If our parents understood what that does for their children, they would all be making sure that that was a priority. So anything that we can do to really communicate that with our community and to support that, I'm in full favor of. So thank you for all of your work.
You're welcome. Whitmore Library is what I grew up with, and I love that I'm back in the district where I grew up, and that library is very sentimental to me.
Okay, thank you, board. I'm just really excited about all the progress we have made on high quality learning. And the board members on there, like when we had our last meeting, we're like, we have to present this to the board. Like, we are so excited to show you guys all the work. It wasn't our work, it was your work. So thank you both, and thank you for everyone in ISD, because I know there's a lot of work behind all that you presented today. So
thank you
both.
board.
We appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the dual language immersion update. This is a second reading possible action, and this will be presented by Dr. McKay Robinson, Superintendent.
Well, thank you, President Schill and board members. It's always fun to be back with a second reading with possible action and talk about a program that I absolutely love. So we'll just kind of jump right into this, and ultimately what we're going to do tonight, several of the slides are very similar, if not the same, as our previous presentation, so I'll only highlight those, but if you ever feel that I need to slow down and readdress those just to be perfectly clear, please don't hesitate to point that out. But we have been basically tasked with the challenge of addressing the challenge of this ongoing declining enrollment and how do we best support our programs to maintain them and keep them going. This is something that's happening across the nation and definitely a challenge in every way. The history / background of our dual immersion programs, the way it was set up by the state and how we have implemented and worked throughout the years has been a program that consists of a 2-class cohort with 56 students, 28 in each of those classes, and then at least 2 other classes, a minimum of 19 in each of those classes. However, over time, the attrition rates, because of the 8 to 12%, we've kind of adjusted those numbers, and we'll be talking about those a little bit here tonight as well in our second reading. But then one of the things, because of that attrition and all the declining enrollment that has taken place this last year, as well as a few previous years to that, we've been supplementing this program, and it's been at a cost of around $1.4 million per year, and has the potential of increasing as enrollment continues to decline there. So again, going back to just the importance of trying to be as creative as possible and finding a solution to maintaining these programs. But as we talk about these different options and the proposals that are there, we do need to keep in mind the legal requirements that we have, that we are there to provide a curriculum aligned, or the curriculum that's aligned with our state standards is our first and foremost responsibility. And then we have our optional programs that are in place. So some of the proposals, what we would like to do, and we started to share these in our last meeting, is trying to be just as transparent as possible and working with our families, and part of that is just parent meetings and how do we best help support our parents, kind of knowing where things are at and what's happening there. You can see that we proposed at the end of August or first part of September. We're already into September, and that's one of the reasons why we are at this possible action moment, because we would love to start having these conversations, and we would work in partnership with the school administration, have those open houses, and be very clear at each of the schools what is being discussed and how we can best support and kind of partner up, I guess, for the recruitment side of things. And then we would potentially have that end of January meeting if necessary, depending on the outcomes of what happens with the enrollment side of things. Another thing that we would love to do is just maintaining that ongoing communication. Although we have meetings at the very beginning here, maybe in September, we would like that communication to keep on rolling. There is one additional bullet that's been added on here that you may have caught, but it's the second to last bullet on the left-hand column, commercials on CSD TV. And that is something that those that are watching this evening may have already, I believe they've started rolling this evening. So we've already tried to jump on that as quickly as possible. So anyone that's listening in and paying attention, they're rolling that way too. And again, it's just a celebration of our programs, and then just making more people aware and hopefully attracting more people to these great programs. And then we would also have the school communication that would be going out, and everything's listed there, different ideas that we have been discussing. One of the main things that we need to address and talk about is this 2-class immersion cohort. Again, in order for our schools to maintain a 2-class cohort, we are setting these parameters in hopes that we, again, can maintain the programs, that they are strong throughout. One of the big things that we have to remember is this is when you commit to a first grade class, we're committing to that class for several years. It's not just first grade, it's for the remainder of the time that they remain in that program. So we're proposing we need to at least have the 50, 25 in each, and the 19 in the non-immersion classroom. So if we are unable to meet those targets by January 15th, we fall short of that, or we fell short of the 19, we would move that to a 1-class cohort. And as you know, we've made that move with a couple of our programs, and we'll show you those numbers and talk about those here in just a moment. And then one of the other things that we have discussed and would like to propose as well is when that drops to a one-class cohort, that we move that number from 32 down to 30, just to help support our teachers in a lot of different ways, but also helping to address the attrition and everything else that we know needs to be in place. And you can see the rest of the reasons that are there, especially with the SECs and additional funding and all that good stuff. So as I mentioned before, if I'm going too quickly, please slow me down, but these are things that we've been talking about in our previous board meetings, so don't want to spend too much time readdressing those. One of the main questions that keeps coming up is, would we be able to move back? If we started this year as a one-class cohort, are we able to move to a second? And we will talk about that a little bit further, but as you know, we've always been able to add those students up through second grade and those dates that are listed there. But what we would like to do is potentially move that back to a two-class cohort if they get enough individuals that are able to do that, as well as the non-immersion side of things. But we are recommending that we not do that until the following year, so there's not that major disruption there. But students could still add like we traditionally do, but it just wouldn't move to the two-class cohort until the following year. All right, this is our latest and greatest numbers, and one of the main reasons why we were talking about this and tried to organize the numbers or the programs in accordance with their language that is provided there. And you'll notice the asterisks next to a couple of the schools, and the reason why they are there is to point out that their current kindergarten numbers as of yesterday, you'll notice that Altera, for example, would ultimately be short of that two-class cohort if you did the math of the 50 and the 19. So we ultimately need 69 to reach that point. And then you'll notice at Lone Peak, for example, they're short of even the one-class cohort numbers as of yesterday. Now, there is a silver lining there, and that is that they were at 42 a few days ago, and they're up to 46. So we're heading the right direction. But I'm not trying to make light of that, but again, we are moving in the right direction. But this is, you know, I really appreciated Andrew's comment last board meeting when he said, you know, ultimately this is a Band-Aid, and I couldn't agree more. This is a Band-Aid of trying to preserve a program and maintain it, and we need to talk about long range and how we're going to address these overall. And this is the two-class to a one-class is definitely the Band-Aid side of things to maintain it. But what are we going to ultimately do in order to maintain them overall for as long as we possibly can? So those are the numbers currently, and I do also want to point out that at Oak Hollow and at Silver Mesa, those are the two classes that we have moved to a one-class cohort for this year just due to numbers. But in parentheses, you notice that I have up there potential future shifts. And what I mean by that is these two could obviously move back to a two-class cohort if all of a sudden they were able to recruit or have a certain number of people that came in to meet that threshold of 50 and 19. I think it would be very difficult just because of the numbers of students that are there, but if students start coming from other areas and or charter schools, private schools, whatever the case may be, happy to move them back to a one class the following year. And then you'll notice here that we have talked in the past about grade levels that are currently in the program and potentially shifting them to a one-class cohort. And these are the three classes or cohorts. Boy, that's a tongue twister. That are getting close to that, if you will, if we consider this and want to move this direction. I do want to I can't emphasize this anymore. We're not going to be removing students from a program, if that makes sense. If they are in the program and they're at this 33 and they stay at that 33 and they never drop to the 30, we're at that 32, or the two-class cohort, if that makes sense. But if they do drop down to the 30 or below that, it is our proposal that we then consolidate and move that to a one-class cohort the following year. So in our last board meeting, there was a question asked or a recommendation that we put a survey together, and so I'll just touch on that very briefly. The survey has gone out, and you'll notice the different groups that we have identified, that we've asked the families to identify as. And this went out to every single family in Canyon School District, not just those that are involved in dual immersion. So you'll notice how we've broken that down. That little chart there is the number of responses that we've had up until when I sent this to you all. So I'm sure we've had a few more that have increased, and we are keeping this open until next Friday. But wanted to point out some of the questions, just so that you're fully aware of what has been asked and what they're being surveyed on to share their thoughts and their opinions on. So these are the identifiers. Gives us a clear idea, and we'll be able to disaggregate the data and clearly identify how and where this is coming from. The next part is simply, if this continues to happen, which of these options do you prefer? And then they are actually able to adjust them or put them in rank order, with 1 being the most preferred and then the 4th being the least. So they'll have that opportunity to do that as well. And then the last question is an open-ended question, where it basically is just asking what would be your, what are some things that we should keep in mind as we're talking about these long-range decisions. And so those are ultimately the questions. You'll notice down in the bottom corner we have the email address that any parent can reach out to or send an email to if they don't recall receiving this survey. One of the things that we found out during PTA and SEC is some were asking, well, I don't remember seeing this, and it fell into their spam for a couple people that shared that example, because what was it? Do not reply at canyonsdistrict.org is what it came from, a typical Parent Square type notification. And so when we pointed that out on the PTA, the individuals that were in attendance were able to quickly find it and didn't have any problems. But if you do not find that, you can always reach out to us and we'll get you that link and set you up. And again, we're continuing this through Friday. And because we're continuing it through Friday, I'm not going to go into some of the results that have come in or some of the feedback that we've received, just because I don't want to skew or, anyway, data needs to come through fully before we start to identify or talk about those. So that's the survey, and ultimately next steps, it will remain open through September 4th. The data itself will be analyzed and then presented to the board and the long-range committee. And then we do have a recommended possible motion tonight to address our short-term challenges with these specific numbers. And I've provided that possible motion. And you'll notice on this one, the red at the very bottom that's underlined. The original one that I sent to you, I caught it after you had all received it. And thanks, Cindy, for being so patient as I asked her to re-upload it. But before it said any elementary 2-class cohort that drops below the target number of 30 total students would then move to a 1-class cohort, and it doesn't align with the numbers that we were proposing. So anytime it decreases to 30 or below that, we would move to the 1-class cohort, if that makes sense. So that is the presentation itself. Apologize if I went too quickly, but happy to answer or address any questions you may have.
Okay, board, are there any questions? Mrs. Dolly, then Mr. Edo. Sorry, Mrs. Nywar, not Dolly. And then Mr. Edo.
Okay.
Oh.
It was like she has eyes in the back of her head. That's amazing.
No, you were the only one raising your hand until Andrew did. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, it was a compliment. I'll be called Mrs. Dolly anytime. Okay, thank you so much for the presentation, Dr. Robinson. A couple of things I wanted to point out. So I know we all know what we're talking about, but just in case people are watching at home, that slide about the current 2026-27 kindergarten numbers are the total numbers for kindergarten, not the ones that are interested in DLI. I thought that was a little bit ambiguous there. The second thing is the slide that you went that had the number of the 4th grade students in DLI at Ocala.
Correct.
What slide number is that?
I don't know the number, but I can go back to it.
Yes, because I think I had not the most updated. So, okay, the 35 students currently in 4th grade. That's total students as well.
Those are the students that are in the DLI program only.
Okay.
So that 35, and what we're saying there are 5 students in that 35 through attrition only drop to 30 or below, we would need to move that to a 1-class cohort
But-
if we go with this proposal.
Okay, but currently, if it remains the 35,
at the
it
2
stays
class.
the same because that's the change is from going from 30 to 32.
Correct.
So if it was 30, I mean, it's not a change because they're 35, but
Correct.
it just, it's changed that. Can you go over how you changed from 32 to 30, what that means? Like for the Midvale Elementary that have the 32 students in 4th grade.
Great. So the 32 that was originally established was only this year. That's the first time that we've done the 32, and that was us moving to the 1-class cohort.
Mm-hmm.
These students have been in the program for some time, and through attrition, as well as through our supplementation, they have had this 2-class cohort. But if we adopt this, and just to be fiscally responsible, we do need to adjust that down to a 1-class cohort if they drop below the
30.
30.
So
Or hit 30 or below.
yes, so that's a change from last presentation at board meeting. So for Midvale, the 32 students currently in 4th grade would keep their 2 cohort because you're saying
We
it's
move from
30
32 to 30.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So I just wanted to go over that. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to point out is because our survey is still open, and we still have a few more days on that, as well as last meeting I requested that we give a chance for all of the SCCs to go through this information and provide feedback. I know Ocala, that's one of our DLI schools, their SCC meeting has yet to happen. So my biggest hope and concern is that we don't make a motion yet tonight, that we let the survey finish out, and we also let all the SCCs of the DLI schools at least to go through this information and get their feedback as well, just so we can feel like we've covered all our bases and heard from everyone we can. So that's my recommendation to the board.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Edo?
All right, so I apologize. I didn't give you this to pull any information ahead of time because I wasn't thinking about it till I was going over this. Do you happen to know about how many of the different programs have a waiting list, if any?
I would have to pull that specific data. Those that are at these I'd have to get the actual numbers for you, to be honest with you, just because when those wait lists are put into place, they can and oftentimes choose another school because they rank their specific preference. Like, this is my number 1 preference, this would be my second, this would be my third. So if and when they didn't get the first because of whatever reason, if it was full program or they did not meet the because we moved to the 1-class cohort, they could have chosen a different program at another school. So that's why I'm unsure of how big that wait list may be, if at all. So I would need to get that for you.
Yeah, because my follow-up question would be, let's say that they just haven't gotten into any program, right? Where they offered a spot, and especially one of these lower enrolled programs, even if it wasn't on their list, since the list is a really horrible way of asking them to what programs they want to be part of.
Yeah, that's a really great question. That's something that we've been talking about within ISD as well. And again, with this full transparency side of things, how do we beef that up and, do that reaching out and saying, hey, your top 3 didn't X, Y, and Z, but we have a 4th and a 5th option. And so we are addressing that as well.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mrs. Oaks?
I would also agree with Ms. Nyberg about the importance of waiting another meeting and making sure that all of our parents have the opportunity to weigh in. One thing that I think is important that the public is aware of is the discussion and possibility of perhaps doing magnet programs in the future. I know that the survey addresses and asks that question. I don't know if it goes into a whole lot of detail about the benefits of that option. There are a lot of benefits, and if it's possible, when you present next time, if you can kind of, and maybe have Dr. Lenward share with us some of the ideas of why that might be a positive model in the future. I'm not saying that that's where we would move right now, but the sooner we can get some of that discussion going in the community, I think the better for them to consider it as a possibility. Because like Andrew said,
Band-Aids are not the best thing. Like, we really want to be strategic moving forward. I want to make it really clear, I'm a huge believer in this program. I think it has benefited so many students. I've been trying to get the word out on social media about this conversation. I don't know if parents are really comprehending how significantly different this could look moving forward. But I did get a fascinating comment from one parent. She said, "I wish I could attend, but I am currently in France dropping off my eldest DLI French student at the University Grenoble Alps. He was accepted into a 5-year combined bachelor's/master's degree program in political science and international law. The tuition is about $7,000 per year, which is expensive compared to other French universities. Just one example of how valuable these language programs are." That speaks volumes to me, and it's not the first time I've heard something like this. Some of these kids are receiving opportunities and doors opening in ways that I don't think most parents can possibly even imagine sometimes. And so it is a remarkable opportunity, and something that we need to think very carefully about how to proceed. Like you said, we can't control the overall enrollment. Clearly there's a lot of parents who are still very interested and still very dedicated to it, and we remain committed to trying to do the very best job we can. But I do want parents to consider the big picture. You know, if you want your kids to have opportunities like this, but enrollment and funding and things are changing, we have to learn how to pivot and be flexible to a certain extent. So thank you.
Okay, I know last meeting we did talk about getting SCC feedback. I mean, I just want to, like, Superintendent, do you know what the board is asking here? And are we just going to present this to us? Like, can you go through what's going to happen with the SCC meetings?
I went in and met with all of our elementary principals last Thursday and had this conversation, and we've heard from 3 different SCCs that have already had this meeting, and they actually went through the presentation with them and then just discussed it and then collected feedback. I have that feedback, but again, waiting to share the different things just because of the survey still being out there. And I know that's ultimately what the plan is that they're talking with their SCCs and they're sharing this and showing it. And again, those were the specific dual immersion schools that have been having this conversation, largely due to the fact that they're trying to address what Ms. Oaks said, and that is, you know, what's the long range? How do we look at magnets or different programs like that? So very much aware of, unless I'm off, I believe I understood the question and their task, and our schools have been great at addressing this with their SCCs. So.
Okay, that's great. So board, are the rest of us okay waiting? I know, Superintendent, I do think last meeting you said there was a little bit of urgency. Can you go over that a little bit?
Sure. Well, the only urgency is the parent meetings and making people fully aware of what's going on, as well as we have our enrollment window that opens up. But again, it's a window, so it's okay that way. I guess my only question ultimately is, if you read what the proposal is, this isn't addressing the long-term solution. This is just allowing us to move forward with the 1-class cohort, but totally fine waiting. I don't think it changes anything unless we plan on changing. Like, are we asking our SCCs, are we asking our parents to say, I don't like the 1-class cohort idea, therefore we're not going to do it? Do you see what I'm, because that's not what the proposal is. The proposal is the Band-Aid, unfortunately, and the long range is getting that parent input and addressing it that way. But totally good. I have no problem waiting. I'm great standing back up here and sharing. And again, I think the only urgency is that window, as well as having these parent meetings as soon as we possibly can, is all.
Okay, so, well, let me just, okay, Mrs. Pedersen?
I support what you have just mentioned, Superintendent. I really think that long-term, we're going to have to deal with what are we going to do. But I think that we're already beginning to live this model with a few of our schools that have had to change to a 1-classroom cohort as it is. And I think it's only fair to let everyone be aware of what we are likely going to have to do. This isn't a long-term plan at all. We're just informing them of the Band-Aid. that this is how we have figured out we can continue this program. And it doesn't say it's going to change in 1 year. We can make tweaks if we need to down the road. But I really think our parents need to be aware now. And I think we need to get this communication cycle begun as soon as we're able to. If we keep pushing it back, then they're going to feel pressure for the registration and the window and all that kind of thing. So I personally think we should go ahead and make this motion, understanding that we don't have the data of the survey, but I think that that particular, unless there's a glaring change that we need to address, and I don't anticipate that, only you know that, that we could address those things in the future.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Nybar?
So my thought is there's a few things I think that would be nice to present next meeting. I think first is the number of the waiting list. I think that that's some good education for us as far as what's going to happen for next year for some of these programs. I think secondly, the thing that I really like about it is when we're saying we want to hurry and get it going so we can get it in front of the parents that are most significantly impacted are the ones who are at elementary schools of DLI programs. And so I really like the idea of it first being discussed in the SCCs. I think that that's something that we learned through this process, is that we had some elementary schools that hosted the DLI program that felt like there wasn't enough communication from us. And so I think it just adds another layer of transparency, and I also think it builds a lot of confidence in the with us in the community that we're taking that extra step. Having been a former SCC member for 10 years, I think that whenever we were able to weigh in or listen to what's going to happen to our school, and even if none of the comments or suggestions were given actually or implemented, just the opportunity to be able to discuss it and understand what it means for our school and our program is invaluable. I think it's local representation. It gives everyone that's been elected at even that more local level an opportunity to discuss it and then also go tell their friends and neighbors about it. And so I really love that idea. I also think that because our agendas are so packed, I really like the idea of before we move forward, even with this Band-Aid solution, that we also get to hear about the survey results, because it may be a while before we get back to this conversation. It just gives us another little chance at a board meeting to go through some of that before it's addressed again. So I love it. I think that, the more eyes we can have on it and the more stakeholder input we have is always going to be great, even if our situation could be somewhat temporary. So that's my feedback.
Okay, Mr. Edel.
So I want to say I don't disagree with my colleagues who want to wait, but I think maybe I see it through a slightly different lens. I mentioned this was a Band-Aid, right? It's more of a tourniquet, and when do you apply a tourniquet? You apply it immediately, right? And then you work to fix it in the end. And I think that's what we have here, and it's not going to substantially change or change at all based on the feedback we're going to receive. I think, and that's not to say that the feedback isn't important, right? Because the feedback's essential for how we move forward. But again, this is a quick tourniquet on the situation so that we can keep DLI alive while we look at long-term solutions and how we're going to maintain a healthy program. And I think that's where the parent feedback comes in, right? That's where the survey results come in, that's where the discussions come in, that's where the SCC stuff's gonna come in, that's where we're gonna have continued discussions. And so I just wanted to bring kind of my point of view in that I don't disagree with what's been said. I think I just kind of separate the issues, and I see this as our tourniquet measure now, and I see the feedback that we're waiting on and the discussions that we're waiting on as being, how are we going to save this program and create a strong, healthy DLI program for the long term with the changing demographics of our school district.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Dolly?
Thank you. Echoing a lot of what Mr. Edel said, I agree that we're sort of
intertwining two different issues here. We've got a short-term solution and a long-term solution. And this short-term solution we've been talking about since the spring. So it's not that we haven't had any time for feedback on this. We've had lots of time for feedback. There's been meetings with people on the SCCs. As far as the short-term solution to fix, as Andrew, so eloquently used to stop the bleed training. So I don't know that waiting another meeting to go forward on the short-term solution is needed, but understanding that the long-term solution, the survey is all about long-term solutions. More of the discussions with SCC is about the long-term solution. Where do we want to see to keep this program healthy for the long term, not just in the intermediary until, as we look at each school and, being fiscally responsible, because this is costs a lot of supplementation currently as it is formed.
Okay, Mrs. Oaks.
I totally see your perspective, and I understand the tourniquet analogy. I will say, though, as a board member, and I think Ms. Nyberg probably feels this way, where the elementaries that are most significantly impacted are in our area. Any opportunity that we have for parents to become more informed and less blindsided by this change is important. DLI has been around for a long time. I have a 22-year-old son who was in the very first cohort at Draper Elementary, Chinese immersion. It's been going on for a long time, and families who are entrenched and they're in the middle of school and getting routines down and figuring out when their kids wake up to the fact they actually have homework. There's a lot happening, and we need to give them the opportunity to understand what's coming. And so that would be my preference, but I recognize I'm only one of 7, so.
I don't like that you said a long time, because I was principal at Lone Peak when it first started. It's reminding me how old I am, so thanks, Amanda.
He was really little back then, and he's not anymore.
Making it worse.
Okay, so I haven't said anything, but I think we've had a really good discussion. There's good points on all sides. I have always been one that loves SEC feedback and also PTA feedback and parent input. I think it's really important. I do want to bring up one point, and that is, as board president, I would love us to vote. I think this is a very important vote, because in the spring, we're going to have people mad. And I would love it if all 7 of us can vote for it. And Andrew and I are not going to be at the next meeting. So there will only be 5 of you. So and I don't want you to do it just because of us, only if we think it's the right decision. But I do think it's going to be difficult when parents come and are upset. So I don't know. I don't know if that changes anyone's ideas. Because I am one, I can see both sides, to be honest. I know that this is, I guess, from a Band-Aid now to a tourniquet. It is a short-term solution, and we do have to find a long-term solution. So I don't know. I will take a motion, and we can see if there's a vote, or else if there's no motion, then we'll just bring it back. Mrs. Nyberg.
I understand the hesitancy with both of you not being here, but we are talking about the difference of 2 weeks, and I do represent the Ocala community, and they are the ones that didn't feel like they were as informed the first time around, and they're the ones that still have their SCC meeting to do. So I just also wanted to remind the board, I think sometimes when we're up here and we're discussing things, we do feel pressure to move forward. And I think that sometimes the best thing to do is to take the time that's necessary to create that level of transparency and that opportunity for people to provide a little feedback and be able to have that extra communication. So, and I think this last year we had a circumstance where we felt that it probably would have been better to move it to one more meeting. So I just want to remind us of that.
Okay, thank you. Good points. Okay, is there any motion? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So I do think it's important for us to hear from those areas that are most affected. I do. So
Great.
I don't think 2 weeks is going to make a difference. And I'm just counting on the board to vote next time. Please vote next time on something. I won't be here, but, and Andrew and I will be where we can't really join virtually. It'll be the middle of the night, so. Okay.
So do we want to do that the next board meeting, or do we want to even go?
No, just in,
longer?
I think in 2 weeks, unless, unless the data, yeah, the 16th. Yeah. I mean, I am, like, we haven't gotten one email about it, and so I am a little worried that parents don't know. Like, I feel like maybe we need more time, so. Okay, thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you.
Okay, we are gonna go on to staff comments. Hurry, run. And first is Superintendent Dr. McKay Robinson for your report.
Amanda already pointed out that I'm really old, so I can't run up to the stage. I do want to just start off really quickly by expressing my heartfelt condolences to the families that have gone through some pretty difficult times as of late with the passing of their children. And I know what type of an impact that has had on our employees and the community members, and I can't imagine what it would be like to lose a child. So my heart goes out to you, and just know that you have our support in any way that we possibly can. But I want to also express my appreciation to the law enforcement officers in all the different agencies, because several of our agencies have been impacted by this, and I know that it's truly impacted them as well as they've worked through these different things. And so again, heartfelt condolences, and then also express my appreciation to our student wellness department that has given so much to support these families and the school community at large. And so it's amazing to watch. So just know that we love you all. I appreciate it greatly. I had the chance to meet with our PTA and SCCs the other day with the superintendent, I guess, State of the Union address, State of the District address. But it truly was great, and I just want to thank our PTA once again for their service. And you heard them talk about how they give their heart and their soul to this, and you felt and heard the emotion in their voices, and I can't emphasize enough that they truly are fully engaged in this, and I'm so honored to work alongside with them as well. Had the chance to go to the Ron McBride Foundation event, where they've actually donated quite a bit of money to several of our schools, so just wanted to thank them and celebrate them. Congratulate Chief Nyber on his appointment, or swearing in as the new chief of Sandy City Police Department. Our exceptional work of our academic team to provide the PD the last couple weeks, and then our amazing facilities department for all the work they did to have our schools functioning, especially with all these crazy rains as of late. We've had some flooding that's taken place, and late nights and long weekends of just trying to make sure things are taken care of. And then Andrew also mentioned earlier of how policy was able to be adjusted, and things were added to of something that we hadn't caught before. And just want to recognize our wonderful CESPR group that's here every board meeting. But they simply pointed something out, and the best part about that is they said, we just want to make sure that we aren't violating policy, so how do we best address this? And I just love that approach, and really look forward to ongoing working relationships with all of our employees, and just thank everybody. And again, our heart goes out to all of those families that have suffered tremendous loss.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent. We'll now have the Business Administrator report by Leon Wilcox.
Yeah, thank you, President Schill. Again, want to acknowledge it was Richard Moore. Raise your hand, Richard. He's our grade AFM at Draper Park. New this year, he's the one who brought up to our attention on the policy on school access, on, you know, as deliveries go to the back of the school, if you will, the loading dock, if you will, and how to get access there. I want to just thank everyone who attended our ribbon cutting at Corner Canyon last week. It was great to see the field house in use. As we wrap up these projects, as we were at a facilities meeting this morning, and one of the guys who went to Hillcrest, you know, we did the Hillcrest track and turf last year. They said Hillcrest football has already scored over 100 points this year. Maybe it's due to the field. I don't know. That's what they were saying. So congratulations to Hillcrest, and And, you know, some of our teams are off to amazing starts this year in football and other events. And thank you to everyone who's made it such a great start to our school year, especially our HR and school performance staff. We have been finalizing FTE. Thanks to, I'm going to have to give all the kudos to Mindy. She has been the spearhead of this. But we were within 5 students of what we predicted back in March on our school allocation. So still down, unfortunately, students, but it's pretty much where we were expected that way. So again, thank you to Mindy and all her work with that. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We are going to start with Mrs. Pedersen tonight with our board comments.
First off, I'd like to start out by giving a shout out to volunteers, most of them coming through the PTA, but there's also many parents that just literally show up when there's a request, whether they're a member of PTA or not. But I do want to shout out to all the hours that they put in. And I have been personally benefited by being able to volunteer already this year. I passed out T-shirts for the beginning of the school at Willow Canyon, and I've helped with reading groups in the Alta View Kindergarten twice so far, and it's just been so much fun. So I encourage all of you to become a volunteer, preferably a member of the PTA. You don't have to volunteer if you're a member of the PTA, but it is helpful. Well, you know what I mean. Well, some people think you have to volunteer. Anyway, you can help with class parties, supervise activities, whatever. The other group that I wanted to talk about are substitutes. I was over at Life Skills Academy talking with the principal, and she was concerned because she's having a difficult time getting substitutes for her students. These students often come with one-on-one IEPs, and they need to have an adult with them. You don't have to do anything really but follow them around and make sure they're safe and that they're going to what they need to be doing. And you're just having a really hard time getting those substitutes. We have a large pool of substitutes. So I would encourage some of our substitutes have signed up to consider going over to our older students. The younger are fun, but this is literally an experience that you would never expect, that it's just so joyful. So I also wondered if some of our graduated students, if they could also think about volunteering or signing up as a volunteer for 20 hours a week and then go to their classes in the afternoon. You can just go in the morning. And that would be a way for you to get some volunteer hours or experience if you're going into education. And the last thing was I was just excited to welcome back our Entrada students at the red carpet, and I'm proud of the navigators.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Dolly.
Thank you so much. I first want to start off by thanking our IT team and our head secretaries and teachers, everybody that's been impacted by this cumulative rollout. We know it's a big deal. It made things harder for a lot of people, but we appreciate all the work and effort that's been put into making that rollout as smooth as possible, because it's been over a year plus in the making and getting this ready to go. So appreciate the time on that. We want to thank our PTAs for all the work that they do in our schools, the support they give our teachers, our students, providing fun activities, providing materials, fundraising for other programs. And they do a lot of great work in our schools. And so if you can, join them. They don't require you to do anything else but pay your $6 for a membership fee. You don't have to come to any meetings or do anything beyond that, but it does help support what they're trying to do in the schools. I want to thank our superintendent for hosting the PTA presidents and SCC chairs at a couple luncheons last week and answering questions for, I think, at least one of them was over an hour, of the questions that our community had. And so appreciate the time he spent doing that and being there for them. And then last, just want to thank our staff and our community members for rallying around these families that are been faced with these tragic times of losing their students in the last couple weeks, and we appreciate everybody's efforts there.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Oaks.
I got to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Corner Canyon Fieldhouse, and that was so much fun. I am really excited for those students, and not just for the Fieldhouse, but for the repair on like the soccer fields and the softball and baseball fields. When I mentioned this in my comments that night, but when I first became a board member, I was approached straight away by parents of some of the girls on the soccer and the softball teams. They had taken extensive photographs and pictures and documented all of the injuries that had been happening with their athletes and how many hours it took for them to go over and try and fertilize those fields. There's something about the grass in that area of Draper that is just like cursed. I don't know, it's rough. So it was really delightful to be able to celebrate with those students and realize, like, we're not going to have this problem anymore with other schools refusing to play on our fields. Like, that was becoming an increasing problem. And in fact, my son, who is 21, he came with me that night, and when he walked out onto the soccer fields, his eyes nearly fell out of his head. He's like, "Mom, this has been such a big problem for the school, like, for years." I'm like, I know. Like, it's really wonderful to see it fixed and addressed, and I'm excited for those changes at Jordan High School, too. I think it's just going to be a wonderful thing when I sit and I ruminate about how many thousands of students are going to be able to go through those facilities and benefit. It's really fantastic. So I'm really happy for these kids and for our community. I think it's going to help a lot of people. And actually, that's the other thing I was thinking about with regard to the fire that occurred in Midvale. What a blessing it was to be able to usher the community over to the field house and get them the support that they needed. These really become important hinge points for the community that really make a really big difference. And so again, to Superintendent Robbins and others' points about how grateful I am for all of those in our district that come out in support of those who struggle, whether it's with a fire or the loss, a premature loss of a student. It's really an amazing thing to see community come together. I think that the larger national scene makes us apt to believe that perhaps that doesn't exist anymore, but you don't have to look much farther than Canyon School District to remember there are many, many good people in this world who want to be good to their neighbors and look out for each other. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Edo?
So I've had the opportunity to spend some additional time in some of our schools, and spending time in the schools is one of my favorite things to do. Speaking of which, for everyone listening right now, I imagine that you either care about what we're talking about here or you're trying to use this as a sleep aid, but please let me know what I can do to help. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I imagine that every single person up here would say the same thing. How can I help? And so whatever it is, whether it's big, insurmountable, or whether it's small, right? I think we all want to help, and sometimes things don't go at the speed we'd like them to, and that's the way of government. But we all want to help, and we all want to do what's best, and that's one of the favorite. I mean, that is my number one favorite thing that I get to do, is to help the students by whether it's a change in policy or whether it's a shift in direction that we need to make. There's all sorts of things that we've done with facilities, with APs, with policy changes, with daycare. I mean, there's so many different things, and so I just want to say, how can I help? And I won't know if you don't tell me. And so I appreciate those who do tell us, whether it's via email, whether it's asking to set up a meeting, whether it's coming here to speak at board meeting. Please communicate with us so that we can help. My kids report on schools regularly and how things go, and so I get lots of information through them on how school is. So I want to shout out to Nutrition Services. Apparently they've had some new food options that have been very popular. So kudos to you guys. And there's actually there's just one person who actually makes all the meals, so she's super talented. But anyway, my kids love school meals, most of my kids,
And apparently the new options are super popular. So, yeah, otherwise, like, we're going to continue to plug along and address issues, and there's a number of things that have been brought to me in the background that I'll continue to work through the background and bring up as we have necessary. But thank you to everyone who does a wonderful job day in and day out. There's so many of you who will go unacknowledged, but know that you're not forgotten. Like, you make a difference, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Nybar.
First off, I want to thank my fellow board members. Thank you so much for allowing us to have that extra time so that my community and DLI school can have a chance. So thank you so very much just for that extra layer of communication. Thank you, Mindy Robinson. I don't think we've ever had that close of a school count. I'm totally impressed, not only by the darling pantsuit you're wearing, but, you know, the mathematician in you that was able to figure that out. That's pretty amazing. I've never seen it that tight before, so thank you. Thanks to Jeff Christensen for his extra attention to detail with these policies that we've just gone over. I, too, wanted to speak about the field house and the fields at Corner Canyon. So when I was running very first in 2019, when I was running for this position, I went over to Corner Canyon, talked to Daryl Jensen and Dave Barrett. You know, what can I do? What can I help with the school? And Dave said, you know what? Come out with me to these fields. So we rode the golf cart out, and he said, look at the problem. We cannot drain the water. Of course, everyone knows we've got a retention pond there that's pretty popular. Kids try to skimboard on it at times. You know, we host a great flock of different birds throughout the seasons. But the problem is the water didn't drain. And when we originally excavated the site, we kind of had this crazy berm situation. Then we had this divot down. And so we had injuries. We had all sorts of problems. And once I got on the board, I had a slew of emails also from a lot of parents of different teams, the soccer and baseball. And I went and talked to the baseball coach, and he was spending an exuberant amount of hours, just volunteer hours, trying to make sure the grass would grow and would come in at different times. And you know, and it was a liability. We did have soccer teams that actually refused to play on those fields. So then our high school team was going over to the middle school field to play. So I'm so grateful because, you know, we have so many needs and priorities in the district, but after a series of conversations and years, we had the board's support to do this. And I'm so grateful. A lot of the board members that are here, and then the late Mont Millerberg and Nancy Tingy were the ones that voted. And I'll never forget that meeting. I was so excited. I walked out into the hall and I was like, yes, I think I yelled actually. I was so excited because it was a long time coming, and I was just so grateful that our community could get that. As well as Corner Canyon, we have so many student athletes. I think we have more student athletes than anywhere else in the district, but we had the smallest weight room. In fact, like a closet had been converted into a weight room. So it was so great to get that field house and get the extra weight room needed that we very much needed. And that field house has been used for the last 6 to 8 months. Other thing that I was worried about is I knew that Coach Kerr was going to end up going to a university, and I thought, you know, if we can have good facilities, we'll continue to be able to attract talented coaches and players. So I'm grateful for that. I was just watching the soccer game go on today when I dropped off my son, and there they were playing on that field, and we've had so much rain, there's no way they would have been able to. So grateful for that, and for Dave Barrett, and for all of you for that support. That was a highlight for me. That's it.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I just have a few thank yous I want to say. I want to say thank you to the CEA board for being here. We really appreciate all you do for teachers. You advocate, and we appreciate your input and working with you. Also, thank you to PTA, all the parents that work so hard in our schools, and it's amazing what PTA does. So I appreciate them. And then I also want to thank Brian, his staff, the staff at schools that have just been supporting families that have had tragedies. And I just want to add my condolences to those families. It's been hard. And it's weird because maybe you guys don't think we're sincere, but we really do feel it. Like, we feel a responsibility over every student. And we do care about each student and want the best for them. I also want to thank our police officers that are here every board meeting. We appreciate them being here. And then just a reminder to the board that we need to sign up for NSBA conference. And So if you can go, just let Cindy know. She will be scheduling that. And I will now call this meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone.
Utah's Dual Language Immersion is a general education program designed to help students become biliterate and culturally competent in a global community. In our 50-50 model design, students spend half their school day in the immersion language and the other half in English. The Utah State Board of Education has helped successfully implement these programs for over a decade. As the first state in the U.S. with a state-based language immersion program, our students have reaped the benefits of improved memory, academic performance, cultural awareness, native language skills, and increased global perspective. With tens of thousands of students enrolled in Spanish, German, Portuguese, Russian, Chinese, or French language immersion, they graduate high school proficient in 2 or more languages and find themselves at a higher advantage for colleges, universities, trade careers, and multinational opportunities.
As a dual immersion educator, watching students succeed with language learning, I have seen all kinds of kids blossom and grow in the program. Kids who were shy, able to gain some confidence by having another skill like a second language.
I think the main benefit is the fact that it allows for anyone who understands language learning knows that it's a long process. It's like a marathon. You can't learn languages in a couple of years. If you really want to become bilingual and bicultural, it's a lifelong investment. Having the opportunity to work with DLI and post-secondary to create this seamless path has been incredible, because that is the only way to really meet the needs of the state of Utah, but also the needs of the nation as a whole.
One of the most exciting things about the continuation after DLI into the Bridge program is students from all grade levels and from all backgrounds linguistically and socioeconomically have access. That we can bring this program into high schools and allow students to experience what it's like to be in college, but with a highly supportive environment.
I love watching the students at my school gain an appreciation for cultures around the world, for them to be able to understand that it's a really big world and that there's so many amazing people, countries, cultures. And I see the students celebrate the differences that we have, and I think it's really beautiful to see that. And then to see that along the way they're gaining a high level of proficiency in the language, where not only do they get that cultural competency, but they also can speak with native speakers and do their best and become literate in both languages.
I have learned that, the importance of learning a language and how students can broaden their perspectives and that they can go further than they ever imagined by learning a second language. I also learned that being fully immersed is the most effective way to teach a language. Our teachers are trained to be so successful in helping our students learn the language by the different methods that they use. And it's very eye-opening to me to see the difference as compared to when I was a student in school.
Increased my understanding of different cultures and how they view the world. I had been accustomed to just understanding my perspective of the world, but learning about a different culture and a different understanding that's not only just actions and traditions of other people.
If you are interested in implementing a dual language immersion program in your school, district, or state, the Utah State Board of Education has developed a process with information and resources to help get you started. Get your students on the right path to success in the global economy with dual language immersion programs today.